मैं इसकी अपोलो और शैडो खेले गए, सो हमने वटिस्टा में बात भी की थी, लाइक मेरे थ्रू बात हुई थी उनकी, तो सुबह मालूम पड़ा अनाउंसमेंट आ गया चारों का एकदम से।
So you saying कि you introduced Apollo, Whiskey and Shadow to
बेसिकली
Batista?
शैडो का मुझको मैसेज आया ठीक है कि ब्लेज साथ में खेलते हैं, एंड दैट डे वटिस्टा कॉल्ड मी कि ब्लेज हमको टीम चाहिए, सो इफ यू कैन मेक अ टीम अराउंड यू, सो बता मेरे को। सो आई सेड 3 प्लेयर्स है इन लोग, तो वी कैन लाइक 4 मैन बन सकती है। सो शैडो से बात करा मैंने वटिस्टा को कि ये सब सीन है, और नेक्स्ट डे मालूम पड़ता है कि उन लोग की चारों की ऑलरेडी लाइन बन के अनाउंसमेंट हो गई। और मैं था भाई क्या कर्मा हो गया, और स्लॉट ही नहीं उनको बेचारा क्वालीफाई करके, अच्छी बात है पर वही।
तो फिर ये जो आपका लाइनअप भी काफी प्रॉमिसिंग है, बिकॉज यू नो सेंसेई, ब्लेज, फ्लॉक एंड सैफ,
यस
मतलब ये 4 बड़े नाम हैं, तो यू गो विद दिस लाइनअप।
बहुत प्यारी लाइन है, लिटरली बोल रहा हूँ। लाइक मेरा तो लास्ट मोमेंट हुआ, मैं मे भी टीम का होता भी नहीं, पर बिकॉज ऑफ कुछ रीजंस थे, लास्ट मोमेंट मेरा टीम में हुआ एनरोलमेंट। बाकी खेला बहुत अच्छे प्लेयर्स है, बहुत लाइक अंडरडॉग्स है।
चलो अब होगी ये फालतू की बातें, कुछ इनका थोड़ा मूड ठीक कर रहे थे। अब ये है भाई तुम्हारे बीच में कुछ तो चल रहा है, क्या चल रहा है बता दो। कौन चालू करेगा, कौन पहले?
आप पूछो ना, आपको क्या पूछना है, आप पॉइंट पे आओ, मेन पॉइंट पे आओ।
ये मैंने रख दिया नीचे। कुछ चल रहा है हैवी, मतलब मेरे पास इस होटल में अभी 96 प्लेयर्स है, 24 टीम, हर टीम में 4 प्लेयर, और 96 लेके चलते हैं। बहुत कम से कम 50 ने बोला है कि फियर्स और ब्लेज के बीच में कश्मकश है। तो प्लीज बता।
देखो मैं आपको सीधा बोलता हूँ ठीक है, मैं जितनी भी वॉर्स में रहा हूँ सबसे बनती है मेरी, ठीक है, सबसे बनती है म्यूचुअली। पर आई डोंट नो स्टार्टिंग से फियर्स ने बोल दिया था कि उनका ब्लेज का वाइब मैच नहीं करती। आई डोंट नो क्या रीजन था, जो भी था इट्स ओके। उसने बोल दिया था, लाइक वो घर पे था और मैं बूट कैंप में आया था, तो उसने कॉल में बोल दिया सिंसियो के भाई ब्लेज का वाइब मैच नहीं करेगी आगे जाके। तब से मेरा ऑलरेडी मूड ऑफ होगा कि भाई मिल तो एटलीस्ट जान ले बूट कैंप में क्या सीन है, थोड़ा फ्रेंडशिप होगी तब जाके जो भी होगा आगे जाके डिपेंड करेगा। आई डोंट नो क्या रीजन था, लाइक मेरे को जानना है क्यों वाइब मैच नहीं करती मेरे साथ। आई डोंट नो दैट।
फियर्स देख जिस तरीके से बात भी कर रहा है ना, ये अभी भी एक सॉफ्ट कॉर्नर और दोस्ती का हाथ बढ़ाने वाला है कि दोस्ती तो कर लेता है, उससे पहले तूने डिसीजन लिया। ऐसा क्यों बोला तूने?
एक और चीज़ है, लाइक अभी रिसेंटली जब मैं R&D बूट कैंप भी गया था कुछ दिन पहले, सो ये सब थे, सो मैंने इसको देख के स्माइल भी किया, पर इसका ऐसा रिएक्शन था लाइक कि इसको मुझसे बात ही नहीं करनी, लाइक तो भी मेरे को थोड़ा हो कि जो भी है पर एटलीस्ट ह्यूमन टू एक होता है चीज़ ना, बाकी तो प्रोफेशनल अलग ही हो गया। बट एक
मानना पड़ेगा हमजा क्यूटी तो है, देख कितने प्यार से बात। इस शरीर देख इसका, पर तेरा क्या टेक है? तेरे दिल में ऐसा अचानक से क्या हुआ कि तूने ऐसा स्टेटमेंट दिया? गेम को लेकर क्या हुआ बता।
मैंने देखो कॉल पे कभी सेंसी को ये नहीं बताया था कि मेरी ब्लेज के साथ वाइब मैच नहीं कर रही। मैंने ये बोला कि ब्लेज के साथ मेरा गेम स्टाइल नहीं बैठ रहा, क्योंकि हम दोनों के रोल्स बहुत क्लैशिंग है, वो उसको खुद पता है। तो
क्या
हम
रोल्स क्लैशिंग है? सपोर्ट
जो हम लोग रोल फिल इन करते हैं टीम में वो हमारा सेम है, तो हम दोनों का जो हम एक टीम में खेलेंगे तो ज़्यादा फर्क मतलब इफेक्ट नहीं ला पाएगा, एक ही प्लेयर इफेक्ट ला पाएगा। तो मैंने वही बोला सेंसी को। बाकी बैक एंड पे इसको बहुत झूठ बोला गया है, या तो मैंने इसको मुंह पे बोला है कि तेरे को बहुत झूठ बोला गया है। मैंने जब इसका दिन बर्थडे था मैंने इसको टेक्स्ट करा था कि हैप्पी बर्थडे, एक बार मेरे से क्लैरिफाई कर लियो कॉल पे। तो इसने वो कॉल नहीं करा, तो मेरे को उस टाइम मेरे को लगा कि इसको नहीं करना मेरे से बात, तो फिर मैंने भी नहीं करी। दैट्स इट। बाकी मेरे को तो कुछ नहीं है, मैं तो इसको रोज बोलता था कि अगर तू वॉक पे जाता है, रोज बूट कैंप पे ये और पंख वॉक पे जाते थे, तो मेरे को भी बुलाया कर, मैं भी चलूंगा। मेरे को ऐसा कुछ हेटरेट नहीं था।
वॉक का भी बहुत अलग सीन है वो, लाइक
तो मैं कोई हेटरेट नहीं था। इसने सीधा स्ट्रीम खोल के भाई ने पूरा बोल दिया।
नहीं, मुझे बहुत लोग ने बोला था कि ब्लेज तू स्ट्रीम कर और जो है सब बता करके। मैं हूं नहीं, जो
मतलब लाइक हु ऑनलाइन ही क्यों ले जानी इस बात को? ये बंद कमरों में क्यों सेटलमेंट नहीं? मैं
बेसिकली आपको उसका रीजन बोलता हूं। जैसे अभी मैं
ऑनलाइन ये इसलिए गया था क्योंकि इसको लगता था इसका इमेज खराब किया मैंने।
इमेज खराब की बात भी है, और दूसरी बात ये है कि बीजा से बेंच हुआ, ठीक है, मैं बेंच हुआ था तो आई वाज कंप्लीटली अंडरग्राउंड में, ना बिल्कुल भी था ही नहीं, ना लाइव में था, कुछ भी नहीं था। आई वाज लाइक ब्लेज गायब है 1 महीने के लिए। सो आफ्टर BGMS R&D ने निकाल दिया था मेरे को, राइट। आई वाज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ R&D, सो मुझे टीम चाहिए थी BGMS के लिए। सो आई टुक, सब दोस्त लोग ने बोला कि भाई ब्लेज अपना पॉइंट क्लियर कर, क्या हुआ एटलीस्ट BGMS में क्या हुआ, क्यों तो बैठा, सब बता एक बार।
ये बेंच किस वजह से हुआ था? तो
बेंच ही रीजन था कि फियर्स को मेरे साथ नहीं खेलना था, और फिर टीम का मुझे डिसीजन था कि भाई एटलीस्ट टीम में सही इशू हो रहा है, तो मैंने बोला कि मैं नहीं खेल पाऊंगा, लाइक मैं मन से खेल नहीं पाऊंगा। जब एक पता है टीम में एक प्लेयर को इशू है तो ना परफॉर्मेंस मेरा आएगा ना टीम का आएगा, तो दोनों का लॉस है। इट्स बेटर जो उनको चाहिए, जो पंख आए फिर तो पंख कर खेले। फिर भी नहीं अलग बात है, पर स्टिल I'm the same ड्रीम टीम।
गुरुजी आपका क्या टेक है इस पे? मतलब ये तो चलो तन्हाई में चला गया कि
मैं एक ही बात बोलूंगा, इसको बहुत कुछ झूठ बोला गया है। मैं तो वो स्ट्रांगली
मतलब
बोल सकता हूं।
अब देखो आप बोल रहे हो झूठ बोला गया, आप ये बताना चाहोगे किस
मैंने अकेले
डायरेक्शन से इसको झूठ आया है?
झूठ ये बोला गया है, देखो ब्लेम मेरे पे डाला गया है, सीधी बात है कि इसको मैंने ही बेंच करा है। जो कि मैंने नहीं करा। मैंने इसको उस दिन भी बोला था कि मेरे को एक बार कॉल कर, मैं तेरे को सब समझा दूंगा क्या क्या हुआ है, सच सच बोलूंगा, मेरे को झूठ बोल के कुछ नहीं मिल रहा, क्योंकि मैं सीधा बोलता हूँ जो बोलता हूँ।
देखो मैं आपको इतना बोलूंगा जो ओवरऑल मुझे पता है, ठीक है। मुझे ये मालूम पड़ा था कि सेंसी और फियर्स ओल्ड टीममेट्स है, ठीक है। तो फियर्स अगर टेक है उसको ब्लिस के साथ नहीं खेलना है तो सेंसी फियर्स के साथ मानेगा। तो सेंसी ने टॉम को बोला होगा ये चीज़ के फियर्स ऐसा बोल रहा है, तो उनका म्यूचुअल डिसीजन हुआ कि ब्लिस के साथ नहीं खेलना बीजेएस। तो मुझे इतना ही पता है।
अभी मैं सच बोल दूंगा तो विवाद हो जाएगा, पर ठीक है।
तो किसका वेट कर रहा है
तो भाई मुझे भी जानना है ना फिर
रियलिटी। सोच के
रियलिटी।
देख, जितना इतने बोला इसकी आवाज के टोन से पता चल रहा है इसको तेरे से कोई दिक्कत नहीं है
भाई
मेरे को
मुझे
बोल के खत्म करना।
अगर मुझे चीजें क्लियर होगी तो क्यों करूंगा ऐसा फालतूगिरी।
देखो ESL जो लैन हुआ था उसके पहले एक मीटिंग हुई थी मेरी, टॉम की और सेंसी की, और उस मीटिंग में मैंने आगे से बोल दिया था कि मैं कंटिन्यू नहीं करूंगा टीम के साथ ESL के बाद, क्योंकि मेरे को जाना था टीम से, दूसरी टीम का मेरे को ऑफर था और मेरे को वहाँ खेलना था। तो मैंने सेंसी को ये चीज़ बोल दी थी। तो फर्स्ट सेंसी ने ही वो आइडिया पिच करा था कि अपन ब्लेस को बेंच करते हैं और प्लेयर लेके आते हैं अंदर। उसके बाद मैंने बोला कि ठीक है अगर कर रहा है तो आई विल गो विद इट।
मुझे कुछ और बोला गया था,
तो वो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, बहुत सारा झूठ बोला
मुझे
गया।
ये बोला था कि या तो फियर्स खेलेगा तो मैं खेलूंगा, दोनों में से कोई खेलेगा ESL। और आई डिडंट फियर्स चूज किया बिकॉज़ फियर्स ओल्ड टीममेट है।
या तो अगर मैं भाई, अगर मेरे को ब्लेस का इतना ही दिक्कत था तो मैं ESL खेलता ही नहीं ना ब्लेस के साथ, सिम्प को खिला लेता। सिम्प था 5th बेटा, ब्लेस खेला हमारे साथ, सीधी सी बात है ना। अगर मेरे को दिक्कत थी मैं बोलता भाई ब्लेस को हटाओ, सिम्प को लेके आओ अंदर, सिम्प बाहर ही बैठा था।
जैसे BGMS में मिस किया, ठीक है। तुम्हारी जो ड्रीम टीम बनी उसमें क्या दिक्कत है ऐसी, उसमें सब परफेक्ट था, तो तेरा फेवरेट प्लेयर भी था,
सब परफेक्ट
कुछ
था, वो इसको पता है। लेकिन देखो
क्योंकि मैं तो एक मिनट था ही नहीं, मुझ में था ही नहीं।
सब परफेक्ट था, सब परफेक्ट था। और जबकि ESL में हमारी वो टीम परफॉर्म करी और ये नहीं कर पाई, जो हमारी बहुत अच्छी टीम थी। लेकिन टीम वही परफॉर्म करती है जिसकी गेम के बाहर अच्छी बने, और गेम के बाहर बहुत आपस में क्लैशेस थे, वो ब्लेस को ही पता है
काका। बट ये जो तुम्हारी ड्रीम टीम थी, सेंसे, फियर्स, पंक एंड
एक्वानॉक्स,
ये तो एक्सो का लाइनअप है, बट अकेला एक्वा तो नहीं है, बट ये तो एक्सो वाला लाइनअप ही पुराना। तो इस टीम में क्यों नहीं बनी बाहर? ये तो मस्त चल रहा है।
बाहर नहीं बनी, वो बहुत सारी लड़ाई हो गई थी, वो तो रीजंस मैं नहीं बताऊंगा, ब्लेस को खुद पता है कितनी।
मुझे सब नहीं पता, मैं घर पे था एक्चुअली। मुझे जितना सुनने में आया, मुझे ये सुनने में आया कि बहुत ईगो क्लैशेस थे आपस में,
बहुत ईगो क्लैशेस अपार्ट, बहुत ऐसी लड़ाइयाँ भी होती थी, गेम में भी नहीं बनती थी। कुछ गलती करते तो सेंसी का भी ऐसा बहुत एग्रेशन आता था, और फिर एक्वा का भी एग्रेशन आता था। उस वजह से गेम, जब जिस टीम की गेम के बाद लड़ाई होगी खत्म है भाई, वो टीम वो नहीं कर पाएगी, भले कितनी अच्छी टीम हो। मेरे भी बीच में ऐसा मतलब भरोसा उड़ गया था, इतनी लड़ाई हो गई थी, मेरी खुद की लड़ाई हो गई थी, एक्वा की भी हो गई थी, सेंसी की भी हो गई थी। पंक एक कम लड़ता था, पंक तो सबको पता है कैसा बंदा।
और पंक और मैं करंटली बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स भी है।
तो पंक एक था, पंक कंट्रोल करता था काफी सिचुएशन, लेकिन था बहुत लड़ाई होती थी, इस वजह से हम परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाए। वो एक ही रीजन है, वरना द ग्राइंड तक अगर आप देखोगे, द ग्राइंड में हम लोग फर्स्ट थे, बीजेएस द ग्राइंड तक। उसके बाद के जो 3 हफ्ते हमें ब्रेक मिला, उसमें बहुत हमारे क्लैशेस हुए, जिस वजह से।
तूने भी स्ट्रीम पे जाकर थोड़ा सा लेफ्ट राइट किया ना?
स्ट्रीम मैंने नहीं करी, ये सब मैं नहीं करता भाई।
स्ट्रीम करनी चाहिए वैसे, तुझे पता है तू एक ही
करनी चाहिए, पर ये सब टॉपिक्स पे मैं स्ट्रीम नहीं करता, ये सब।
तूने मतलब ये कहाँ बोला? मुझे किसी ने बोला कि फियर्स ने बोला कि ब्लेस का माइंडसेट बेकार है गेम की तरफ।
नहीं, ये मैंने कभी नहीं बोला, माइंडसेट बेकार नहीं है। जो
डिनाई कर दिया आपने?
नहीं,
पक्का
माइंडसेट का क्यों बोलूंगा मैं?
आपने भी इनको बोला कि फियर्स इज बहुत वो है, पॉलिटिक्स खेलता है, बेकार प्लेयर है।
पॉलिटिक्स नहीं खेलता, मतलब बिहेवियर इशू है, मतलब ईगो वगैरह मतलब सुना देता है वो प्लेयर्स को, क्योंकि उस टाइम
मुंह फटा जो दिल में बोल रहा है, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि एकदम कलेश लेके पीछे बैठा।
मतलब उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता सामने वाला क्या सोचेगा, वो उसको जो है बोल देता है वो।
हाँ सही बात है, मैं तो बोल देता हूँ भाई।
बट मेरे हिसाब से हमजा, बंद कमरे की बात ऑनलाइन ले जाना और ऑनलाइन किसी को बोलना गलत तो है भी।
मैं सब आपको पता है, मैं लाइव कभी करता हो गया ये,
तो
मेरे को
तेरी पर्सनालिटी की टूट अगेंस्ट है
भाई। पर मैंने अगर लाइव भी किया ना, मैंने ऐसा कुछ हार्श नहीं बोला, आपको पता है, मैं एकदम शांति से आया।
भाई ने हाथ तो नहीं बोला, पर भाई ने जो बोला बहुत इफेक्ट हुआ है मेरे को।
क्या
तो
बोला मुझे बताइए।
क्योंकि मैंने कभी देखो 3 साल से मैं खेल रहा हूँ, मैंने कभी टीममेट से ऐसे नहीं सुना है कि इसने ये कर दिया, इसने बिठाया मेरे को, मैंने कभी नहीं करा है ये। मैंने बस जो है सो बोल दिया कि मेरा इसका नहीं बैठ रहा, और जबकि मैंने मीटिंग में बोल दिया था कि मेरा इसका नहीं बैठ रहा, तो मैं छोड़ देता हूं।
बात निकालो,
मैंने बोला मैं ही छोड़
बोलने
देता
दे, काट मत।
हां सॉरी माफ करो।
भाई को बोलना। हां बोल।
मैंने जबकि बोला कि मेरा और इसका नहीं बैठ रहा, तो एक काम करो, मेरे को तो टीम थी, ऑफर था मेरे को उस टाइम, तो मैंने बोला मैं ही छोड़ देता हूं, इसको खिला लो, सीधी बात है। अब जब आरएनटी के मैनेजमेंट ने वो डिसाइड करा कि इसको बेंच ही करना है, तो मैं उसमें कुछ नहीं कर सकता, मेरे को भी नहीं जाने देते।
चलो ये जो बोल रहे ठीक है,
एक चीज मैं बोलूं, अब मैं तो था नहीं, अपने घर पे था, बट दोनों की बात समझ के मुझे एक ही बंदा याद आ रहा है बस, वो है असली कल्प्रिट। वही
मेरे माइंड में भी आ रहा है,
वही है मेन फसाद की जड़। बट कोई नहीं,
एक दिन हुआ था जिसकी वजह से मेरा इतना कुछ इस पे हुआ था। इसको पता है, हमारी मीटिंग हुई थी, मैंने लाइव पे बोला थी, मेरी मीटिंग में ऐसा हुआ था, ओनर वगैरह सब बैठे हुए थे, मैनेजमेंट ही सब प्लेयर्स भी थे। सो इसमें इसने सबके सामने ही बोला था, आई थिंक ESL के पहले था के बाद में याद नहीं आ रहा मेरे को, मीटिंग हुई थी, तो उसमें ये हुआ था, इसने बोला था कि ब्लेज का गेम प्ले डेड हो गया है, इसका टीम में 0 कंट्रीब्यूशन है और इसे नहीं खेला जाएगा हमारे साथ एज हम चारों के साथ। तो अब से मेरा हो गया कि भाई इतना अगर किसका मैंने मेरे लिए तो मैं सामने से नहीं खेल पाऊंगा अभी चाह कर भी। मैंने उसी ने बोली थी मैं ई स्पोर्ट्स में लाइक इसका तो नहीं खेल पाऊंगा टीम में,
बिकॉज़ इतनी स्ट्रांग स्टेटमेंट किस लेवल पे बोलेगी।
और इसने exactly ऐसा ही बोला
मीटिंग है।
था।
अब देखो ओनर साहब बैठे हैं आरएनटी के, सबको पूछ रहे बारी बारी करके क्या दिक्कत हो रही, क्या दिक्कत हो रही, क्या दिक्कत। अब कोई कुछ बोल ही नहीं रहा, मैं क्या करूँ, कोई बोल नहीं रहा और मेरे को दिक्कत तो थी भाई। अब मैं बोलूंगा नहीं, फिर मीटिंग हो जाएगी बात, फिर वही सर्कल होगा। तो मैंने बोल दिया कि भाई मेरे से नहीं जम रहा, मैं नहीं खेल पाऊंगा, सीधा बोल दिया मैंने मीटिंग में। कोई बोल नहीं
बोल दिया कि मेरे को भी एक्चुअली नहीं खेलना है फिर, क्योंकि इतना अगर है तो फिर
अब
बेटर
उसको
कॉल
कोई
लेके
देखो, सबको टीम में बैक में था कि अब मैं नाम तो नहीं लूंगा, पर टीम में ऐसा था कि किसी को ब्लेज के साथ नहीं करना था आगे आफ्टर ईएसएल। ये तो था ही था, मैं बोल रहा हूँ ये सच है कि नहीं करना है, लेकिन कोई मुंह पे नहीं बोल रहा भाई, सब पीठ पीछे बैठे हैं। अब फिर घुमाओ। अब ये फिर आरएनटी में है, इसको
तूने ब्लेम ले लिया बस, सबकी गोली
बस
मैंने छाती पे खा ली।
सबका गोली मैंने खा लिया, बस
विवाद कर लिया अपने आप में। कोई नहीं यार,
मैंने सीधा वो स्टेटमेंट भी मैंने एक दिया था, उसके बाद मैंने बोल दिया कि मैंने ब्लंटली बोला है भाई जो है सो है।
और मैं बोल दिया।
और ऐसे सारे लोग थे, सबका एक पीछे दिमाग में था ही, और सब इसको झूठ बोल रहे हैं। अभी भी मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ सब झूठ ही बोल रहे हैं। मैंने उस दिन भी बोला कि भाई एक कॉल कर लेता, सब क्लैरिफाई कर देता।
मेरे को अभी तक सब ये बोल रहे हैं कि जो था इसका ही था, अभी तक आज तक मेरे को सब ये बोल रहे हैं, पता
तो वो
नहीं
तो
किसकी बात
बोलेंगे ही,
मानूं,
देखो
किसकी
भाई
नहीं मानूं।
वो तो बोलने वाले हैं। मैं किसी प्लेयर का इतना बुरा नहीं करूंगा यार कि बोल दूंगा कि इसको बेंच ही कर दो, एक मेजर इतना बड़ा मेजर टूर्नामेंट बेंच ही कर दो, मैं क्यों बोलूंगा बताओ।
बट हमजा, अब जबकि फियर्स इतने कॉन्फिडेंटली बोले, जो मतलब मुंह पे बोल रहा है, इसका मतलब वो डरता तो नहीं है। और इसने जब इतना ओपनली बोला है, इसका मतलब कल्प्रिट भी हाई चांसेस है कि ये तो डायरेक्टली वोकल है अपनी चीजों को लेकर। ऐसा तो नहीं होता तुझे कोई और पट्टी पढ़ा रहा है।
जो पिक्चर में
जो मैंने बोला कितने
देखो एक चीज जो ब्लेज ने बोली थी स्ट्रीम पे, वो मेरे को सही लगी कि वो मैंने रियलाइज भी करा कि मेरा गलत था, कि जो स्टार्टिंग में सही चल रहा था, उसके बाद जब ब्लेज की थोड़ी मिस्टेक्स हो रही थी तो मैं बहुत इम्पेशेंट हो रहा था। मैंने उसको बहुत बोला था, उसको मैंने बोलता रहा, तो वो सही चीज थी, वो सही बात बोली उसने, वो मैं बोलता था, तो मेरे को रियलाइज हो कि मैंने गलत करा। शायद मैं और पेशेंट होके और वर्क कर सकता था इसके साथ। जो एक ही चीज मैंने गलत करी है सीन में, बाकी मैंने कुछ गलत नहीं करा इसके साथ।
एक और रीजन लाइक ये बोले एक्सक्यूज है, पर एक्चुअली रीजन था वो कि हम लोग इवेंट जीते, ठीक है, अप्रस का। उसके बाद मेरे माइंड में प्लान आया था कि मेरे को था कि अभी वैसे भी सब ऑफिशियल प्रो पे हो रहे हैं, सो आई शिफ्ट ऑन प्रो डिवाइस। सो मैंने आरएनटी को बोला मुझे प्रो ला के दो, मैं प्रो पे शिफ्ट हुआ। तो मेरे 4-5 दिन स्टार्टिंग में गेम में एक्चुअली मैं डाउन था, बिकॉज मैं मैक्स से प्रो पे आया था। तो मैंने बोला सेंसी थोड़ा देख, मेरा भी गन पावर थोड़ा वीक है, बिकॉज मैं शिफ्ट हो गया इस
तुझे
पे।
एंड्रॉइड चलाना चाहिए था, पता है तुझे?
क्यों?
एंड्रॉइड इज बेटर।
Yes.
ठीक है, बेटा।
Samsung
ये
S20
सबसे बड़ी गलती तेरी है।
या एंड्रॉइड इज बेटर।
तो उस टाइम मतलब कुछ मैचेस में मेरा 1v1 चोक हो रहा था, तो उस टाइम ऐसा होने लगा कि कुछ भी हो रहा है सब मेरे पे आ रहा है कि ब्लेज की वजह से हार रहे हैं, ब्लेज की वजह से मैच। तो मेरे माइंड में आती रही चीज़ कि भाई अब गलती करूंगा तो आप भी सुनाएंगे मेरे को। तो मेरा ऑलरेडी मोरल लो हो गया और वो फिर कैरी ऑन हो गया, वही बोल रहा हूँ, वो पूरा कैरी ऑन हो गया फिर।
वो तो मैंने करा है गलत, मैं तो बोलता हूँ भाई मैंने करा है गलत, आई एग्री।
You know, after having heavy conversation, ये तो कंफर्म है कि रिश्ते में थोड़ी सी खटास आई थी, ठीक है? और ये खटास बहुत प्यार से जाती थी, बिकॉज भाईचारे में प्यार बहुत है। एक अच्छा सा हैंडशेक बनता है यार। मैं बता रहा हूँ, ये लाइफ है, दैट्स द रियलिटी ऑफ ई स्पोर्ट्स प्लेयर की। ये चीज़ें होती रहेंगी, 2 की 4 होगी, 4 की 8, फिर 16। तो भूलो, आगे बढ़ो, बहुत कुछ है और अभी तो शुरुआत है। और तुम्हारे पास फर्स्ट कम एडवांटेज है भाई, लेगेसी लिखने की बात है। तो वो स्मार्ट प्लेयर्स हो भाई, ठीक है? और ये जो तूने ऑनलाइन वाला, ये बुरा है, तुझे नहीं करना चाहिए। और फिर और उसको कॉल भी कर लियो सॉर्ट करने के लिए, ठीक है? आई एम फीलिंग सो हैप्पी कि इस सेगमेंट में मेरे भाइयों को बुलाया। मैंने लिटरली मसाले के लिए बुलाया था, इन्होंने इमोशनल कर दिया। बट थैंक यू सो मच हमजा, लवली हैविंग यू माय सेल्फ। यस, जय माता दी, गुड जय माता, ठीक है ना? मेरे दोनों बॉयज आपको मिलेंगे कहाँ? बीजीएमएस, जो क्रेजी होने वाला है, बहुत ज़्यादा मजा आने वाला है। हमारा नेशनल टीवी पे भी जा रहा है। सो और बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स आएंगे, इन कुर्सियों पे बैठेंगे, बातें करेंगे, मैं उनसे और सारी खबरें निकालूंगा, बट अगले एपिसोड में। टिल देन कीप गेमिंग।
Welcome back once again to another day of BGMS Season 3 powered by Garnier Men, where I'm going to be your host and caster Necro, John alongside with me on the panel. Once again, we'll be scared yet, just a few days away from the Grand Finals, or at least for the top 4 teams to directly move in to the Grand Finals. But now the focus is going to be on the latter half of the board. The teams that are still not able to pull a lot of points off, but what can they do to do so? Because yesterday we saw Revenue Esports once again get another chicken dinner underneath their belt, while teams like Godlike, they're starting to crack under that pressure.
There's the entire point that I wanted to mention, that now just one chicken dinner with a one big game is not going to help you breach into that top 4. Because it's eventually going to be all the other teams as well getting those crucial 10 to 8 points, as you mentioned. And that's a big thing to consider now, because most of the teams, it's better for them to look forward to how they're going to perform in the playoffs itself. So they need to devise something. They need to find that momentum in their favor.
Yeah, talk about the division itself. Now you can clearly notice the top 4 separate out from the latter half of the board, right? Slowly and steadily, the teams are starting to make their mark. They're starting to build that lead, and that's now starting to be a main cause of concern for a lot of these teams. And one of those teams in the top 4 right now is Team Tumulus. They have been slipping under the radar. They like to play it passive, defensive, and that's how they've been playing, at least in this Domination week. But if you talk about the previous week, this team was playing really aggressive. It was a complete shift in the pace.
Yeah, it just seems to be like that they've achieved that one good cushioning that we always talk about, and now that they just want some consistency, a constant 8 to 10 points under their belt, so that they can always remain in the top 4, or if not even in the top 4, at least in 5th or 6th spot, so that they can just get one good game and they can breach into it very quickly.
Talk about breaching in. Even Raven Esports, sort of being kicked out of that top 4 for a while, but we know what they're capable of. You've got a man like Reaper, Hanzo, AimGod. This man is popping off recently, and for Raven Esports, they have been pretty consistent, be it the week 1, be it the week 2 of the league stage. They've pretty much been there on the board, but in the week 1, you can clearly notice that aggression being amped up a bit more compared to the week 2.
All the teams, they were just trying to focus down on that early power play points as well, and we've also had that impact player weekend as well, if you remember. So quite a lot of those teams tried to find their own footing, and since we're talking about that, there's one more team, right? Reckoning Esports. They were the ones who found a perfect opportunity in that impact player week itself with a 49-point banger.
Hunters.
And exactly.
That one single man performed exceptionally well, just surprised all of us. And now you've got Team Tumulus on the screen, right? You look at the team stats, Mr. IGL with 17 finishes in the span of 21 matches. But look at Maxiopi, 36 finishes in 21 matches. Now that's what you call a mega performer for a team. But then Manti as well is not that far behind with 23 finishes.
Absolutely. At least both of these players, they're constantly finding those opportunities and those situations when they are getting those extra bit of points, right? And since we are having the head-to-head on Erangel as well as Miramar, yes, there's quite a big disparity coming in. Erangel seems to be a lot more comfortable for this team, but even on the map of Miramar, they still try to gather those consistent points, right, in terms of placement.
I mean, Team Tumulus has been one of those teams that likes to prioritize placements over the finish points, and that's sort of been the main forte for this team. But as I mentioned in the week 1 that we witnessed Team Tumulus play in the Season 3, it was a complete different shift in the pace. And if you remember, we had a conversation around this, that how aggressive Team Tumulus was playing. They were trying to take the advantage of the power play system, and they were actually winning the 4-on-4 fights too.
It was mostly against the members of 8-bit on the map of Erangel itself, where they would always just find 8-bit either in the rotations or maybe in some awkward positions. But that was not just it, right? Even on the maps of Miramar, they've achieved a couple of chicken dinners as well. And we could clearly see that them prioritizing the position, it helped them out so much in so many of those scenarios.
Yeah, and talk about some of the scenarios, man. Team Tumulus, as you mentioned, targeting the players of 8-bit and over again. And that's one of the main concerns for 8-bit, because they're still at the latter half of the board, pretty much at the bottom, right next to Team Xpark. And now something needs to be done right there. If 8-bit, they do not make the bounce back, because we saw 8-bit perform in the opening week, and 8-bit was exceptionally well.
This team was the only one that I personally feel everyone was trying to fear, right? Because they could not take the fight against the members of 8-bit whatsoever. No matter if Aiku Soul were their opponents, no matter if there was Team Tamilas, even if there was Revenant, they were just picking apart every single team. And it has completely flipped as soon as we went into the main league week as well as the now in the Domination week. I really thought that maybe they could research, but since we're talking about that and on the same topic, a team that you touched upon as well in a while ago, Raven Esports. This team was in the top 4, but they have had some hiccups right now.
Yeah, the hiccups, and as I mentioned, it's clearly happening because of this Domination Week. A lot of these teams prioritizing fights in the Domination Week, they have changed the play style, and one of the prime examples has been Carnival Gaming. You
Yes.
saw them perform a day before yesterday, and CG were topping off the charts in a really good fashion, dropping right on top of the teams, taking them down. I mean, Neo with that miraculous clutch, shutting down TZ. Those type of highlights moment is what CG was delivering on that day.
Yes.
But team stats for Raven Esports on the screen for now. Reaper with 22 finishes, Aim God with 34. Of course, the man's mile better.
And you could also see the similarity with Team Tamilas itself, where Maxi was the one with over 30 finishes, and then the one to support him was Manti. In this situation, it's Aim God and Reaper. You could say the draconic duo out here standing in front of us, and Hanzo and Hulk providing some good amount of support as well to the teams. And look at power play finishes. Hanzo and Aim God are the ones who always activate in the power play, and then it's Reaper to take things on for the next few situations.
I mean, Reaper and Aim God, they've always been the main pillar for this team in general.
Yes.
I have been witnessing this team for a while. I also saw them perform in the official tournament, and Raven Esports was one of those underdog names that made it to the grand finals of the official tournament. So they do have a lot of that potential. Slowly and steadily, they are unleashing that potential against some of the well-known teams too. And one of those teams was Team X-Park a while ago. You just saw that. Team X-Park got wiped out so clinically by Raven Esports. And then this clutch from Reaper against Entity surprised all of us. And we never saw this coming too, because Entity, they messed up big.
Exactly, and it was just an Uzi in the hand, man. Look at the spray down coming in. Yes, Entity messed up big time, but at the same time, you know, Reaper, he was just phenomenal in that situation. Though again, there were many more possibilities that Raven always kept showing us, specifically on the map of Miramar itself, having some good positions as well, and they were not scared to give up on those positions, right? This team has kind of prioritized those eliminations.
I mean, look at some of the fights that Raven Esports has taken. Their 4-on-4 fights, they've been so good. They
True.
know how to provide that cover fire to each other. They know exactly how to play that trade game too. And if Raven Esports is live in the final few situations, there's a high chance Raven will be the one to come out on top in that duel. And
True.
the same thing can be said for Team Timilas too, because they like to prioritize the placement points, or at least that's been the storyline for their second week. In the first week, Team Timilas was going all out. They were going guns blazing.
I would 100% agree, because yes, we did see them take fights against 8-bit, but that was not just it. They would always try to find more fights. They would try to find more teams out there, left, right, and center, to pick them apart. And then when the power play was over, they would slow the pace down. They'd be like, all right, now it's time to prioritize the circle, and that's what they would normally do.
I mean, considering we've been speaking so much about Team Timilas and Raven Esports, let's just have a direct comparison of the week one itself, right off the league stage. And you've got the comparison on the screen. Raven Esports, as usual, starting things on the aggressive end of things. But then Team Timilas, they seem a bit more consistent. While you take a look at the Raven Esports' graph, which is in green, there's been some major dips in the performance.
Yes, and since you were talking about dips, there has been a big amount of variation for Raven Esports, because look at match number 14, where they had almost over 33 points, if I'm not wrong. So this clearly brings in the average to almost equal number, but the consistency that Team Tamilas has been showing with the graph in yellow is something that is actually surprising, man, because look at that. Most of the points are almost 20.
But this is also the prime example. All it takes is one solid game in BGMS Season 3 for you to bring back in the race. And all the other teams should realize this. If you do prioritize the finish points off the rip, you will get a big boost, not just in the overall table, will also give you a big boost in your ego and the confidence that you need inside of the game. And at this point in time, it's all the confidence game, let's be honest.
I would 100% agree with you, because back when in the opening week we were seeing WSB perform as well, that first game was mind-blowing, and that team carried on the momentum forward. But since the starting of the league week, it seemed that WSB also lost a lot of that confidence, and since we've been talking about that, this team has been looking very shaky now recently. Even yesterday, or maybe day before yesterday, we saw them take the fight against the members of OneBlade, and they could not close it out properly.
And you know, a while ago we just mentioned about the opening week, which is one of those teams that you really miss from opening week that got eliminated.
X-Pac. They didn't get eliminated, but from the opening week, this team performed miraculously. But after that, their performance has taken a humongous step.
Well, I mean, for me, it has to be Team Limra. because it is one of those teams that is the underdogs as well. They made it to the grand finals of the official tournament. But for some reason, when they moved on towards the BGMS, the performance just completely dipped down.
True.
They were not there in the top 18. That's why they were pretty much taken out. And now, unfortunately, for some of these teams that are there in the top 18 that had a lot of potential to perform, they're not able to perform. And one of those is WSB on the screen right now. I mean, the players, they do have so much potential. You've got Armand, Shikari, Jad, Zeref, God Z. These four players, they pack so much power, but still for some reason, WSB's conversion rate hasn't been too good.
And we can see the disparity right away because the highest number of frags that anyone has got in their team has been 21 by Gods, if I'm not wrong. And after that, it has just been declining. While all the other teams, you can see one of the assaulters is just over those 30 finish points. Now that clearly shows you the aggression that this team brings. And I feel that those constant duels against the member of Carpedium back in Pochinki, it has kind of affected them in their heads and a lot.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
hands down. It has affected them in their heads. Not just that, even in the overall storyboard, because if you're not able to survive the map of Erangel, then you're pretty much cutting out the majority of the chunk, right?
Yes.
Erangel is being played the most in this entire tournament. And if you're not able to perform in the map of Erangel, that means you've only got 2 maps left. Sanhok has played the least. Miramar has played sort of on the mid-tier, but Erangel is something that you need to master, man. And if WSB, they keep on dropping inside of Pochinki, there's a high chance they will keep on taking that damage. And probably majority of the times, they will be wiped out by Carpedium.
that is true. There was one time when they actually won against the members of Carpedium in a pretty stylish fashion too. That's when they dropped around the area of Pochinki, got some of their crucial loot, and then went forward. So
Yeah.
I think so maybe they can do that again.
I mean, once again, it's all about knowing the play pattern of your opponent and then going for the counter strategy, right?
Yes.
But WSB, majority of the times, they're not doing so. They're just pretty much repeating the same thing over and over again. But for now, it's time for us to toss to a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. A ride with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. On a ride we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
What's up, everyone? Come on in.
I got 100 ways that I could make you look.
You cannot read me, I ain't
Wow.
no page in a book. But there's 100 ways that I could make you look.
Wow.
Make you make you look.
Wow.
Look, make you look.
The Domination week has been full of surprises, but keeping all the surprises and the fun stuff aside, now it's time to buckle up because the grand finals aren't way too far away. And that's what we saw Global Esports do, tightening up their aggression off the rip against Wasista, and they wiped them out. They wiped them out so quick that we did not even see that coming. But then a heroic entrance from God's Reign made sure that they came up with the demise against Team WSP.
Did not even give them an opportunity and a chance, but the one that Team Xbox created was stolen away from them by none other than the third party by Entity. Miramar has been their grounds and this team has been showing it time and time again, but another team that has shown us how good they always are. It's definitely Reckoning Esports and their 4v4 fights.
But a team that is still struggling to find some sort of ground has to be godlike, coming up with some questionable decisions in the game one, going for that rotation. I'm not sure what was going through the player's head, but you talk about a team that knew exactly what they were doing was Reckoning Esports. With their tactical brilliance, they secured the game one with ease.
That was the very important chicken dinner for them, but just not one game. The second one was even a banger, specifically when in the Paradise Resort. It was not paradise at all, it was a Hell's Paradise.
Hell's Paradise indeed. So many teams dropped off towards that same area, wanting to wipe each other out, but then moving towards one plate against WSP, where Trigger could have stood a chance to wipe out the entirety of WSP, but unfortunately got overwhelmed by the man number. God's Reign 2, a team that possessed the bounty on top of their head. Team Orangutan, they took care of the points.
Absolutely, the important bounty which was claimed by them. But again, Team Z's questionable decision and the nades from Godlike were amazing.
But you know what? Now it's time to toss to Serene and see what he's doing out there.
All right, this is the walk that all these teams make as they make their way inside to the Android arena. हम भी यहीं पे हैं. आज चौथे दिन की शुरुआत है of Domination week और ये 20 की 20 टीमें वो चाहती हैं परफॉर्म करना ताकि वो फाइनल्स में डायरेक्ट क्वालिफिकेशन पा पाएं. AKOP Orangutan उन्होंने दिन की शुरुआत की थी on the 9th spot, लेकिन उसके बाद they're right now on the 7th, and this boys team Salty say hi to everyone.
Hi, what's up?
Revenant, the only team that has managed to pick up 3 chicken dinners so far in the Android BGMS Season 3 powered by Garnier Men. Now Reckoning, यार 200 points के ऊपर हैं. It almost feels like nobody is going to be able to catch them. लेकिन बाकी teams अभी भी लड़ रही हैं. So आज के लिए what we're going to do, we're going to speak to 2 people. Reckoning के Gravity and God's Reign के Venom. Boys, come join me. Good to have you. आइए. Okay. Reckoning जिस तरीके से परफॉर्म कर रही है, obviously you guys are right at the top. लेकिन Gravity यार, you know, Immortal को लेके कुछ बात हुई थी that is he IGLing, are you IGLing? वो अफवाहें उड़ रही थी. What do you have to say to all these people जिनकी ज़बान को ज़्यादा खुल रही है?
नहीं, अभी तो बहुत सारे लोगों को नहीं पता था कि मैं IGL कर रहा हूँ, इमॉर्टल भाई नहीं कर रहे हैं. पर अभी धीरे धीरे जैसे जैसे अगर ट्रॉफी उठाएंगे तो पता चल ही जाएगा सबको. वैसे
Now God's Reign, ठीक है, आप लोग भी बहुत कमाल कर रहे हैं, बट फॉर सम रीजन ये तुमसे आगे हैं, ये तुमसे ऊपर हैं. उसका कारण क्या हो सकता है?
अभी सेमीफाइनल में आगे रहने देते हैं इनको, फाइनल्स में हम आगे हो जाएंगे.
इजी सिंपल आंसर. ओके, इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर का रूल. सब लोग बहुत एक्साइटेड हुए थे. आपकी टीम से कौन था इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर?
हंटर्स.
इसका मतलब यह है कि इस बार इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर हो सकता है कि आप भी हों. Who knows? We don't know that. लेकिन इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर को ना सिर्फ अग्रेसिव होना होता है, बट साथ में कंट्रोल भी दिखाना होता है. कितना ज़रूरी होगा? Are you prepared for that challenge?
हाँ, मैं तो हमेशा प्रिपेयर हूँ.
हंटर से कुछ बात हुई है? Anything that he's told you जो आपने शायद सीखा हो from what you saw of him in his play?
नहीं, कुछ ऐसा कुछ था नहीं। मेनली तो ये रहता है कि जो भी इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर रहेगा उसको मोस्टली सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत रहती है कि वो आगे जाए तो उसको सपोर्ट मिले। वैसे एक स्ट्रैटेजी रहती है कि लो कर देते हैं फिर उसको भेज देते हैं मारने के लिए, मेन तो वही रहता है।
तुम थे इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर पिछले हफ्ते एंड ब्रो आई हैव टू कंग्रेचुलेट यू एंड आई हैव आल्सो गॉट टू से कि वाओ, क्योंकि एक मौका ऐसा था जहाँ पे तुम अकेले थे, 4 टीमें लड़ रही थी, तुमने एक मूवमेंट नहीं किया, यू जस्ट वेटेड फॉर देम टू फाइट। क्या इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर का पूरा फायदा तुमने उठाया एंड आर यू गोइंग टू गिव लेसन्स टू हुएवर बिकम्स द इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर फ्रॉम गॉड्स रेन दिस वीक?
इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर का मैंने पूरा फ़ायदा तो नहीं उठाया क्योंकि मेरे ज़्यादा किल्स भी नहीं थे, फिनिशेस नहीं थे। तो अभी हमारे मतलब इम्पैक्ट प्लेयर का असली फ़ायदा उससे जैसे कोई प्लेयर अच्छे फिनिशेस जिसको फ्री में अच्छे फिनिशेस मिल जाएं, तो है मेरी टीम में प्लेयर्स सब ऐसे, तो अगली बार किसी और को मौका देंगे जिससे फिनिशेस हमें मिल जाएँ।
क्वालिफाई कर रहे हो डायरेक्ट फाइनल्स के लिए?
हाँ, ईजी है वो तो,
बहुत ईजी है। व्हाट अबाउट, अरे तुम्हें क्या पूछूं मैं, लेकिन फिर भी हाँ बोल दो।
हम तो कर ही लिए।
भाई यहाँ बहुत ज़्यादा गर्मी है, हम अंदर जाने वाले हैं टू दी एंड्रॉयड अरीना क्योंकि वहाँ पे एयर कंडीशनिंग है, ये लोग कूल फील कर रहे हैं। बाकी जो टीम्स हैं they're going to feel the heat under their collar. Back to you boys in the studio.
I mean, Reckoning Esports, as usual, looking pretty confident, but then you cannot take away anything from God's Reign. These guys have been the bounty hunters. These guys have been the hunters in the playing field, and every single man in that team has been performing so well consistently.
To be honest, I really want to check if God's Reign have actually been able to successfully hunt a bounty or not, because their bounty has definitely been hunted by a couple of teams out there. That's pretty funny as well. But yeah, at the same time, these two teams, as you mentioned, have been consistent, and that's not just thanks to one player, right? You know that at least 2 players in this team, both of these teams always tend to pop off.
And I think so the main reason why they've been so consistent is because they know exactly what they want to do.
Yes.
They know that they want to hunt down the lobby off the rip, and that's what they've been doing from the start.
True.
That's been the majority of the problem for some of these teams. They do not know if they want to go aggressive. They do not know if they want to play tactical. But God's Reign and Reckoning Esports, they know they want to go aggressive, and that's what they do every single time. The funny part over here is that God's Reign, they've got the Bounty Hunters tag, but they still haven't hunted any sort of bounty yet.
Their bounty has been hunted a couple of times. That's the funniest part that I always talk about. But yes, as you mentioned, these two teams have a clear-cut plan in their mind.
Yeah.
That it does not matter what the result comes out to be. We know that we need to utilize the power play. When it came down to the impact player, I don't think so any other team apart from Reckoning has used it perfectly. Because again, there's Gravity on one side, there's Venom on the other side. Even though Gravity is the one who's actually IGLing the team, and he said not a lot of people knew about that, the amount of finishes that this man has actually got is also frightening.
I mean, honestly speaking, at this point in time in the Season 3 of BGMS, yeah, you're IGLing fine. The only time the IGL is actually going to come into fruition is 4-on-4 fights, because after that, rotations are being too easy, man. Already a lot of these teams are being eliminated off the rip inside of the game, so for you to move on to the mid-pack of the game, already the rotations are way too easy to be in the prime spot. Head-to-head between Gravity Jot and Venom, where you see, of course, both the players have played 21 matches, but there's a big difference between the eliminations.
And that's Gravity Jot who's been having that advantage, and you can't even take it away from him because he's got Hunters in his team as well, and he's got Dinosaurs. All of them are just out of their mind whenever it comes to fragging.
I mean, look at some of these final few moments, right?
Exactly.
The way Reckoning Esports was playing. They pushed in tandem, knew exactly what they wanted to do, and this is what I like to say, a properly structured team.
True, because this was that 49-point banger where I wish they could have got a pick on Maxi as well. That would have basically been a 50-pointer for them. But it's absolutely fine. No worries. It is possible we might see in the upcoming weekend maybe a 50-point banger from one of those teams. But even after all of that, you know that that was the game. That was the pivotal match from where Reckoning started to develop that cushion, and they haven't let go of their king's throne.
But I'm not going to lie, today's day has to be the main focus on the teams on the latter half of the board, pretty much on the bottom 4, right? Because this is going to be the last chance for them to come back. Some of the teams will just be playing 1 game. Some of the teams in the bottom 4 might just be playing all the 2 games. And these 2 or 1 chances will be the only chance they will have to try and make a bounce back. Because later on, even the impact player rule's going to come through, and we know all the teams, they will be like hungry wolves.
Exactly. So even if that impact player comes into play, you want to have a game that Reckoning basically had, while also consistently grabbing 15-20 points. 20 is like the bare minimum now in these situations. Because look at the top 5, I would still say. 170 points for Raven, 171 for GE, 178 for Team Tamilas, 183 for God's Reign, Reckoning Esports with a big cushion and the only team to cross 203 points. But as you go down low, Entity on 10th spot, 127 points.
Listen, all of that is fine, but look at the difference between 4th and the 7th spot. It's not a lot. All it takes is one solid game for you to be back in the race and secure that 4th spot. Now, Global Esports, their head's going to be on the swivel. If they do not perform today, they're screwed. Latter half of the board, as I mentioned, this is going to be their last day pretty much to try and make the bounce back, especially if you're there in the bottom 4. Team Z, WSP Gaming, Team X-Spark, and Team 8-Bit. Now, if they're not able to make it directly to the grand finals from this stage, then they will move to the playoffs.
Let's be realistic at this point, because it's almost a 100-point gap for all of these teams, right? 100 to 80 points. So you either need to have a game that Reckoning had and then follow it up with something of a 30-point banger, then you'll be able to make that cross. That's like the dream day. But I don't think so that is so viable or so possible.
In my opinion, if they only get 25 points per game, that's still going to make the cut, man. Today, imagine if they get 25 points in one single game, and then tomorrow if they're playing both the games, and once again they're able to perform that well consistently, then they can definitely make that happen. You guys also saw today's schedule.
Yes.
It's going to be pretty much the classic one, nothing really changing on the board. But we know the potential the teams on the bottom half of the whole board holds, man. We know what they're capable of. We have been witnessing these teams in the playstyle for such a long time, but still for some reason, they're choking when it matters the most.
Exactly, and it's not even like they can't really do it, because they showed us in the opening week that they can definitely show an amazing performance, and all that's thanks to our amazing Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, because all the games are being played onto that. But yes, coming back to the same point, I really want to see all these teams step up.
100%. I mean, the step up might just be there, but it won't be too late to step up, especially for teams like Team X-Spark and Team Z. But for now, let's move on to a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a jiffy.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Share it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen?
Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
そんな場所だ。全部壊してみっか。俺は塔のてっぺんに登るんだ。ਆਪਣਾ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ
Wow.
ਨਾ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਜਗਦੀ ਰਕਾਨ ਚੰਨ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਜਿੰਨੀ
Circle to search. Only on Android.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna leave. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now wow, wicked unleashed. That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Whoa, or should we say super wicked? The beastly headlights and the Black Panther iconic mask screams power. Feel like Super Warrior with our TVS Raider Super Squad Black Panther Edition.
It is super wicked at the end of the day, but I really want to ask you something, Necro. Please do Wakanda forever.
Absolutely not.
That's your favorite bike. Come on, you can do that for it.
It is a favorite bike. It looks pretty cool. I like the colors on it, but no, absolutely not. But a team that's been doing really good for themselves, it's going to be Revenant Esports. I mean, we talked about the lineup. You've got a man like Seth in the lineup too. Sensei, the IGL himself, plays, used to be one of the best supporters in the entire lineup too. So in general, the lineup that Revenant Esports has, it does not carry a lot of firepower, or I do not mean to say it does not carry a lot of firepower. It of course does, but it's not a lineup that's supposed to play super aggressive. It is supposed to be a tactical and a methodical lineup, and that's what they're doing.
It's not an explosive lineup.
A flashy lineup.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have any flashy plays like AKOP's insane 8 to 9 frag games or something like what Hunters is pulling off. But all the players are capable for that, but they play smart. And that's what I always like to see. Because again, this is the only team, since we were talking about it, to have those 3 chicken dinners. And the consistency is constantly showing as they made a big leap from the bottom 4, if I'm not wrong, to almost in that top 10 now. But another team that I'm looking forward to maybe take that big leap is going to be Team Forever. Ash on that IGL duties. Really want to see him pulling his team back from the brink. And since we're talking about that, Hector as well, Neo's 1v4 godly clutch of the year, I would still say. They still have an opportunity, but they need to perform in every single game.
That is true. The same thing can be said for S-Power too, man. For some reason, it feels like S-Power, since he stepped in this lineup, his performance hasn't been noticed that well. But we know what the man's capable of. We've seen this man perform over and over again in the past couple of years. So S-Power definitely is a lad with a lot of potential, but still for some reason, maybe he's having the communication errors with the team, having some time to gel up with the boys. Before a team like Entity, they have been quite quick on that aspect. The team play seems phenomenal. They have gelled up pretty well. The communication seems on point. For Entity Gaming, their firefights have been looking really nice. But then you move on to the opposite side of the spectrum. A team that's been playing so well in the past couple of tournaments. A team that's been with each other, but still they are choking things up. That's going to be Team X-Park.
Having so many difficulties now, and you can't even blame it on maybe they're just trying things out, right? Because even when they decided to play normally, they've been struggling, they've been facing problems, but some teams are not, and this is going to be an important game for all of them because you've got a couple of bounty teams in here.
You definitely do have the bounty teams, and here we go. Game 1 of the day. As the plane's gonna hit the skies once again, and the plane flat path starts all the way from Yasna Poliana toward Georgia Pole. Now this plane flat path is tilted heavily to the northern side. Mogo Esports, you're screwed. You're probably gonna face off against someone off the rip, and that's something that Mogo Esports really needs to amp up that confidence.
It seems like even BGMI gods know that Mogo, just take those early fights at this point. There's no other way for you to make it to the top 4. Make sure you try to fight early, get those picks. But Godlike taking off from the plane right away will try to drop in over towards Kameshki, maybe spread out a bit towards Stolber as well. Global Esports are going to have some fun time in their own 7-8 drop. Unless, of course, there are some other teams who would really want to hunt them down. And I mean, quote-unquote, God's Reign, probably.
Team Z moving towards that Lipovka area. I guess they know there's no one dropping towards Lipovka, so it's going to be a bit of a drop change for Team Z. Considering they know Novorupnoi is way too out of reach, so it does not make a lot of sense to stretch all the way towards Novorupnoi. But where's the circle going to pop up? If it is going to be military-based circle, then that will be some spicy stuff waiting in the future. Reckoning Esports towards that shelter area, Revenant dropping quite close. That might just be potential pit stop collision for Revenant, but let's see how they deal with that. Reckoning Esports, they were the first one to land down, so they will be able to get their hands on some crucial weaponry that will help them convert the fight in a better fashion.
Exactly. A few of the teams who are going to take a pretty late drop as well. Carpedium, it's going to be, again, close to the members of Raven as well. I want to see where 8-bit are again, because they like to drop off all the way down south towards Primorsk. But as you mentioned about the fact how we might see a pit stop collision, seems like that's not happening, at least for now. Reckoning are taking away.
Oh
a few of those
no,
vehicles,
not
but
against Carpedium. 8-bit, they've already been struggling. For Carpedium, their firefights have been looking phenomenal. And if 8-bit drop towards this area, well then this pit stop collision is clearly in the favor for Carpedium. Here we go. Fierce, the man's going to start things off with the aggressive note. Instantly gets the first man down, but considering he was slashed up, he needs to back away for a while. This man is in quite a critical health, and now 8-bit slowly and steadily pushing up close and personal against Fierce. The knock is found, nicely done. Fear is taken down for now, but is the confirmation going to follow up? That's the question. It instantly does too. Team 8-bit, they do bring the numbers back on the board in an equal note, but then Max Ben gets knocked out. A really beautiful knock from Team 8-bit. Kamala Boy 2 in the far fray. Constant shots are taken against him, but unfortunately the man's just got his hands on the Scorpion. He can't do a lot. Retrieves the AKM from the crate of Fierce. Now 8-bit's looking a bit more stronger, but that VSS, considering it's got an inbuilt scope, it will be tough to deal with, but 8-bit, they're closing that distance. Max Payne is still knocked out. Carpedium on the verge of losing this fight up close and personal, and Mac with the AKM is constantly pressing on the charge. Team 8-bit is quite hurt.
They are quite hurt indeed, but again, it's just Pucar remaining right now. Considering Max has also been knocked out, so he's going to try and make a run for it. There's nothing else that he can do right now. No healings whatsoever, only level 1 kit in his own hands. Tries to make a run for it to try and get the revival on Max. I think so that is doable, but again, you've got 3 members of 8-bit on the other side. They are hurt though, as you mentioned, so just a few shots and it might do the trick, but he wants to take Max away from this location. Wants to go in for a safety spot. Mac still wants to find something. Just a couple of shots to be connected. Absolutely not.
The man needs to be revived as soon as possible.
He'll be.
He's way too low. But yeah, for 8-bit, collecting those 6 points, so crucial. Unfortunately, Max Payne is being taken out from the game, and now Pucar, he's got nothing to lose. Back's against the wall. You might as well try to go for that fight. It's a 1-on-3. You can't make it happen. For Carpedium, it's just 2 points they have secured so far. Is Pucar really going to go for a safe approach? That's my question. Or maybe if you're Pucar, if you're the smarter one, go towards Pochinki and try and third-party someone, or at least in general try and third-party a fight. That will be the best way for you to snatch some eliminations away.
And this is the fun part, right? Because we normally see Carpedium dropping in Pochinki against WSB. But it seems like there was a peace treaty with them and they were like, all right, you take Pochinki, we're going to drop somewhere else. But just because of this plain fly path, they had to take that first engagement against 8-bit. But this time, seems around Seoul. Haiku Seoul are welcoming some of their opponents. And guess what? It's the members of Mogo.
Mogo Esports on the run. But what am I watching? Manya, some questionable moves being made. A double-barreled shotgun in the hand of the opponent. For Mogo Esports, they're making quite a critical error here. As Delta gets knocked out, Justin right underneath.
Robin.
His position is noted. Haiku Seoul, they will go for the flush. They instantly do so, but Justin is still alive underneath. He needs to be spotted and taken down. Haiku Seoul, they're all over the board. They're all over the place. And now another man is taken down way too low. Robin, he does not stand a chance in this fight. He will be taken down too. Slowly and steadily, the players of Mogo Esports, they're getting dismantled, as now it's all down to Destro, and I don't think so you can do a lot.
Yeah, just giving away those first aid kits right now. It's all the way Haiku Seoul. They've lost one man, and that's Ronnie, but it's absolutely fine. He's going to be brought back up on his feet. Shots being fired, so Knuckle now knows the position, and Knuckle is not the man you really want to fight up against.
Yeah, I mean, all of that just to get knocked out. Yep, done for. Mogo Esports, they wanted to go for the safer approach. They had no clue that Haiku Seoul will be there on the bridge line, and they just get caught. So now Mogo Esports, always they like to avoid the early fights, but this was an opportunity given to them by the gods themselves to go for the early fights. But Mogo, they screwed up because they wanted to avoid it once again. And this has been the main casualty for Mogo over and over again.
Exactly. And a fun point that I wanted to mention was, in fact, again, I'll talk about it after this fight because it's Team Z. And they really need to get these a few flushes as well against the members of Reckoning themselves.
Was
Wait
that a full-fledged bounty?
Exactly, that's a
It was.
full-fledged bounty for Team Z.
That's 18 points off the start. Nicely done.
Sheesh.
A great way to kick things off.
They lost a couple of members, but it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Losing 2 members for 18 points, worth it. Any day that's worth it. But for Team Z, they need a bit more points. As I mentioned, 25 points per game from here on out. And if Team Z, they fail, it's done for. They can't move into the top 4. They would need to go all the way from the longer route. That's going to be through the playoffs. And that's probably going to be the course for a lot of these teams on the latter half of the board. We might just barely see any breakthroughs. But Vasista Esports, they are breaching through a few compounds here and there. One played around the corner too. Carpedium, considering they lost out on the players so early off, 8-bit, they definitely do have the blood on their hands. CG around the area of Gatka. Raven Esports is way too close against CG, so for CG2, there's going to be that constant threat.
Here's the fun fact which I wanted to mention. Looking at the plane fly path, normally Seoul does not pull out this kind of maneuver. They knew that Mogo cannot directly drop into military base, and they would probably try to go in for some pit stops and then move forward to that location. So they pre-camped that bridge, realizing that Mogo might drop in there.
Don't tell me it's going to be a rehost. I think so. It is going to be a rehost.
Oh, please.
I feel really bad for Team Z. They just claimed the bounty.
18 points.
That were supposed to be those 18 points that Team Z's been searching for desperately. And I guess maybe because of a potential rehost, this might just not come through, but hold on to that thought. I'm not sure what exactly is going on, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, Vasista Esports losing out in secret. The fight keeps going on. One blade as well, trying their best to sort of make sure the players of Vasista Esports won't be able to capture this fight with ease. Anonymous trying to make things as difficult as possible, and keep this thing in mind, Anonymous has been the man in the forefront. He's been the man with a lot of success for his team. Utilities being tossed into perfection. Apollo is just waiting to find that one single pixel, and that will be the table turner for this fight.
True. But that's an up-close and personal battle. 1-for-1 trade coming in. The DBS could not close it out on the rest of the members. So it's one blade yet again losing their members one after the other. 2 of them already out. So it's down to just KSR7 now to try and pull something off. It's the last man standing up against the 4, but that's a massive knock.
Oh my god, KSR7! What a beautiful nade that was! And did he just clutch it out?
Nope.
No, it's
Almost.
going to be the answer. Almost he did. One blade. They could have been pulled back from the graves right here, but the last man Apollo clutches it out for his team and saves the day. Oh man, for Vasista Esports, they almost got the flashbacks of that Equinox moment.
Oh, I wanted to point the exact same thing. It was almost a similar thing happening right now because 3 of them were down on their knees and 2 of them were taken down by that nade. But alright, with that said and done, this fight has been won by the members of Vasista. Good thing it was all in the stage 1 power play. So they still get additional points. Carpedium have lost on to Pukar as well, so only 2 points to be claimed for that team. Reckoning have been eliminated early on. Mogo for 0 points, Reckoning with 4. That's a big thing.
Entity on the move. They're going to move in towards the centric part of the zone where Team Z is currently camping. And for Entity, they do spot out a few players here and there. It's godlike on the receiving end of things. Jonathan at the top, but Mino unfortunately was knocked out and dusted a while ago. So now godlike is taken down to a 3-man squad. Beautiful spray for a punt, but it's still not going to find any success. Godlike now in a big world of trouble. The shotguns, yes, they're there, but unfortunately Z-God gets ran over. And that's not a good news. Godlike now taken down to just one last man, and that's Jonathan. He's got so much to deal with. The entirety of Entity Gaming. And yeah, Jonathan, it's better to just back away from this fight. But considering his back's against the wall, head's on the swivel, Jonathan will need to go for this fight whatsoever. He's got a bucket right next to him, and even he will be dealt with. Jonathan does not stand a chance.
Tried to go in for a smoke play as well, but by the time that smoke boomed, it was already too late. Godlike yet again taking an exit, that to an early one. Big problems, big question marks, not a single point claimed, but 8 given to Entity. And constantly, we are seeing these teams, specifically the ones who are in the top 10, to have those early points, to have those consistent points. And even Seoul is trying to join in the same ship, you could say, that's already sailing towards the top 4. 121 points in total, 8 already claimed in the bag. Mogo have been deleted. Still have got to worry about a few teams out there. There's still possibly one bounty that they can claim, is there? I have to check on that. I think I missed it.
There indeed is. Circle pops up on the screen, and on your Android devices, you can circle to search pretty much anything. If you're wondering what a thing is, all you need to do is just make a circle on the screen on the thing that you want to search, and the results will pop up with the best deals possible. Team Z on the screen, a team that managed to pull off the bounty. Now we'll be looking so good. 18 points off the start. That's a fantastic way to kick things off in this game. For Team Z, exactly what they were looking for. And now they've also got a 2-man squad, so you can't say the points are still counting. If Team Z manages to secure a decent amount of placement points, at least get somewhere around 25 points, that will still be a really good deal.
Sahi, that is driving. Funny, but it's fine. But yes, as you mentioned, they still need somewhere around 10 points, if not entirely 10, at least 5 to 7 points to create that decent cushioning, and they've got to recreate that in every other game. And bringing in that consistency is the big thing. That's the reason why we're seeing a humongous disparity between what there is in the top 5 or top 6 versus anyone below them. Rotations now being pulled in. Faiku Seoul moving in towards Pochinki. Could be possible that they might rendezvous with the members of Carnival Gaming sometime around during their own rotations itself. We have 11 teams remaining right now, so there is a possibility of some kind of contest over towards the southwestern side of this entire circle, considering how 8-bit is also going in for such a delayed rotation still in Ferry Pier.
I mean, Iku Seoul in general just started the game off in a really weird fashion. Dropping all the way down south towards Snofka military base is not something that you see the boys pull off. Usually the lector drop towards school. Iku Seoul on the chase, on the prowl against the players of CG. For CG, it's not going to be good news at all. But this rivalry has been going on for a while now. Iku Seoul want to shut down the players of CG, and here we go. Time to cut off the route. You can see Manya so desperate to take the fight. He wants to block off one player. He almost does too. The man's quite stuck. S-Power, he manages to catch the first player, and now S-Power is missing all the crucial shots. He will be taken down eventually, but Neo ejects out of the far fray. And even Neo is now starting to get pounced upon himself. He's got a shotgun up close and personal. The man's now starting to hold the angle, and Neo is getting pounced on from every single direction he can wonder. Utilities are being cooked from both the sides. Same on the other side of the rock. Unfortunately, Nukin and Manya lost out in this battle, and Neo can still be the major table turner. Utilities are being tossed on both the sides, but no one's able to find any sort of success, and eventually Neo loses on his patience, and he pushes up, and he finds the success too. Iku Seoul slowly and steadily losing out on the man number. It's not looking too good. As Ronnie's there on the other side of the rock, his position's noticed, and Neo, all he's waiting for is a little bit of a glimmer of hope, and as soon as he finds that, maybe his head will be cut off. But Iku Seoul is still playing it as soon as possible.
The more time he stays there, the more difficult it's going to become for him. Because as you mentioned, Ronnie is back on his feet as well. So the revivals are already there. And Neo, the situation that was almost a 1v1 has now turned into a 1v3 and has got no way to escape. Still got a few smokes in his hands remaining, can try to smoke off his vehicle and then try to go in for the rotate. But I was really hoping that during all that commotion, 8-bit might want to join into the action around that Ferry Pier area. but they just decided not to. And now finally, Soul are going to push forward against Neo.
I don't think so Neo cares at this point. He just knows it's done for anyways. A beautiful nade! It catches both of them. Neo! Oh, the man's an absolute monster. This is why I like to call him Neo from Matrix. And once again, he's looking to pull off a miraculous clutch. Oh, showcasing some highlights off the legendary plays pulled off in the past. And Neo, as usual, is so calm and composed in these scenarios. Just look at him. He's not even making a lot of moves anymore because he knows he's already done so much damage to IQ Soul that they can't recover. One single man, it's now starting to be a big pain in the foot. And what can IQ Soul do? It's all down to Manya. Can he close it off?
No healings for Manya. Can't stay here for long. He's got a lot of nades, but no healings. And it's an entirely open ground in front of him. There's absolutely no cover. And he does not even have smokes. 5 healings in the hands of Neo. He can play it as slowly as he wants to. And Manya is probably now trying to make a run for it as well.
Neo, as you mentioned, with the upper edge when it comes to the first aids.
Oh my
And Manya is now just deciding to back away from that fight. He does not want to give the glorious moment to Neo, or maybe he's looking to create that off angle, and that's what he's doing. I think so. IQ Soul and CG, they both know there's no point in just backing away from this fight anymore. We've only got one single man left alive, so you might as well fully commit.
Hey,
and Neo is there behind the rock. His position's noted. He hasn't repositioned just yet, but Manya, with this repositioning, has his position been noticed?
That's a big question, because if you look at where Neo is actually focusing on, it's almost around the same area. There's a big amount of cover, but alright. Manya has decided to actually back away from this one. Does not want to go in for it. I was about to say that it's the ego coming in. The ego that you are the champs. You don't back away from a fight when it's thrown at you. But it seems like Neo, the man is a bit too big of a boulder to deal with. Not another 1v4 moment whatsoever, but still that's a highlight. That's a highlight reel for sure.
It indeed is. I mean, specifically looking at the way Neo thinks in these type of clutch scenarios, it's so mesmerizing. He knows exactly what to do at what instance. The man started to cook a nade because he saw the players sit inside of the vehicles. And as soon as he saw them sit inside of the vehicle, that's the moment when he knew that, okay, it's going to be a big push upon him, considering one man's still in the back and the 2 players are making the push. The nade comes in, instantly knocks out 2 players from that vehicle. Just perfect. Claims the elimination on the 2 players as well, and then moves up, or at least try to take down Manya too, but Manya just backed away from that scenario. Before Neo, now he knows the ground's clear, it's time to move away from that spot, but before it does so, it's probably going to try to wrap up a few more first states and then try and close on up to the safety lines.
Imagine if only this was in the stage 1 power play. 6 points would have been given to him in a silver platter. I wouldn't exactly say in a silver platter, but he would have claimed it in that manner. But hold on a second. Seems like there's a commotion happening between Team Forever and the members of WSB. But while that's happening, we are going to look at the fight that happened on the bridge itself, as Mogo did not realize that IQ Soul would be camping on the one when they wanted to rotate there.
Entity facing off against Godlike. Z-God getting ran over like that just through the entire fight in the court of Entity. And now there needs to be a bit of a talk between the players, that's for sure. What was Z-God doing out there when he knows that there's a vehicle approaching him? I mean, he was there around the corner and he did not see the vehicle properly come through, but still, you can't go for a DPP peek. But looking at a fight between the players of Team Forever and WSB, for Team Forever, it's going to be an easy piece of cake against WSB. They do take down few players, and just like that for WSB, unfortunately, now they're starting to lose the grip in this game too. Vasista Esports' Shadow Z is there far away, and he's constantly taking shots against the players of Team Forever. And Team Forever, now they know that Vasista Esports' position is noticed, but then there's also 8-Bit right around the fray.
You've got to be worried about that because there's a lot of teams around you. One proper fight and the third one is going to come in for the third party. There's also Raven moving in around the vicinity. The team that you really do not want to fight on, but Trigger has got absolutely nowhere to survive apart from the fact to try and just take that fight.
Trigger now moves out. Team Forever is now looking too comfy. They're still looking to put that final nail in the coffin against WSP. It's like they've got something personal against the boys. Team Forever, utilities are being tossed out. They're emptying pretty much everything they've got in their arsenal. That's what it feels like. And in my opinion, it's not worth it. You might as well just push. That's going to be the best possible bet. Mafia blows up Trigger, and that's it. WSP out, done and dusted. And with that, they probably lose out on the chance of directly moving to the grand finals.
Agreed. With just 81 points now and not a single point claimed in this one, it's going to be a bit too difficult for them.
Yeah, what is WSP doing? That's my real question. WSP should realize that their main forte is firepower. They're just not moving fearlessly. It feels like there's so many things that are hindering them in the back.
True. But another team that has not been hindered whatsoever is Global Esports, and right now finding an opening against Raven, if I'm not wrong. Slug already has got a finish in his own hand, and there's also Entity roaming around in the same area. There's an urban finish of Yasnaya Polyana. There's going to be a lot of teams in a lot of those compounds. And those frags and molotovs are going to be even more crucial to try and flush out the players on the other side. And the later you go, the more difficult it will be for you to find a good compound.
Oh no, Yasnaya Polyana now starting to get stacked up with so many teams. Global Esports on the top. Entity Gaming as well. They've got their hands on the apartments. You've got Raven Esports right in the front. Yasnaya Polyana is going to be the Hellgrounds now. That's for sure. So many teams will be in there. It will be chaos all across the board. And if it will be an urban finish, then oh my god, you just can't imagine. Every single window is going to be filled with a player.
It won't be a window, it'll just be a crosshair. From every other angle. Having those big compounds, the more the compounds that you have, sometimes the better it would be for you. A lot of these teams are just deciding to stay together. Close out. It's gonna be like this for a while now.
Pretty much.
They're gonna just fire a few warning shots and maybe a few nades are gonna be tossed in, but that's about it. But as soon as I say it, Reaper finds an opening against Samraj.
Rough luck for Entity. They should not have done so. They went for a complete slam moment, but it just did not work out the way they wanted to. Raven Esports, they do lose out another man in return, as Hulk and Reaper are now knocked out. One of the men will be confirmed. Reaper down and dusted. Raven Esports in a big world of trouble. Taking down to a three-man squad will make that two. Aim God, the man closes on up. His position's noted for now. Raven Esports, what can they even do? Hulk is knocked out right there. Aim God slowly and steadily looking to back away from the fight. He does not want to be part of this entire scenario that's occurring. And that's why he's constantly backing away. He wants to let the players of Entity be the alpha. Fine. This time I'm going to be the one to show my back and run away from the fight. I do not want to be a part of this.
Just moving way too far back so very quickly. And that's the confirmation on Hulk as well. They still think that there might be another player out there, but some big problems happening out there on the other side. Apollo down on his knees too. Vashishta Esports. They were doing so very good, but now since they've lost a couple of members, it's even more difficult for them to pull it off. Team Z, Saeed, in the meantime, finds an opening on the member of Global Esports, and this is another bounty that is claimable. But maybe a fish that they were not ready to take into the bait.
Hold on, the zone moves away from Yasnaya Polyana. That's where now the real problem's gonna start to strike. It moves out in the open fields of Yasnaya Polyana. Vashishta Esports, they barely do inch in from that southern side, but Vashishta Esports, they're gonna have a few more teams approaching them soon. What am I watching? 8-bit! It's a hunting party from them this time. Raven Esports' place gets confirmed, but 8-bit, they're taking too many shots upon themselves from the city.
They've got to move away from that position, and they've got a bit of a ridge cover as well. So we'll probably end up surviving. But this was not something I was hoping Revenant would do. I thought they would probably take that fight against the members of 8-bit.
Yeah, slow and methodical approach this time not working out, and that's the main problem, right? If we do not have the proper research and the proper information on the lobby, then the slow and methodical approach will not work out because you're pretty much stepping in an unknown territory that you've got no clue about.
Exactly.
Entity slowly and steadily starting to gain the control of the ground. They want to be at least as close as possible to the safety lines. Ninja Boy spots out one player. Raiden does get chipped up a bit, but it's not enough to get the finishing blow. Team Z is there too, around the corner. Team Z, they barely do inch inside the safety lines.
I want to see what Team Forever is going to do in this entire situation. Because down south, you've got 8-Bit, you've also got Vasista Esports controlling the only compounds down south in the circle. And then you've got Revenant. But hey, as soon as I say that, Team Forever losing a member as well, but Mac and Aditya, they've been taken down. Mighty answers back onto Mafia. But I was about to say that Neo can actually be a big spoiler, and he eventually found Manya. He 1v4'd Aiku Soul.
All of that is fine, but Entity now left outside of the zone. Aiku Soul, yes, they have been 1v4'd. The fight was elongated for too long. Eventually, as you mentioned, Manya gets spotted by Neo. But yeah, once again, Neo's heroics, they do come into play, but this time it's all about the reward. How many points do they get in return? Just 4, so that's not enough. But Entity now, bouncing on top of the players of Team Z. As I mentioned, they were barely inching inside of the safety lines, but this time, one of their men will be cut off.
Indeed. Seems like a global esports game, most probably. Unless Team Forever can pull something out of the world off. Global esports have got the numbers as well. Beast, way too far back. Ninja Boy, too far front. If they get a knock onto Ninja Boy, I think so that's going to be a big blow to the members of Global Esports. Entity, the positionings need to be impeccable.
Equinox position in the house is quite brilliant. The man is in such a spot where the nade can't be tossed. Equinox is safe for now. But the constant YouTube barrage from Ninja Boy finally catches Equinox. Global Esports with the opening. They've got the man advantage too in the fight. And here we go. The push comes to shove. Ninja Boy's the first man to charge on forward as another nade steps in for Beast. It will get another player knocked out. Constant util barrage, and the players of Entity, they can't do anything. They cannot even hear the footsteps approaching them.
What a beautiful pushdown coming in from Global Esports. But now on the other side, it's time for Team Forever to do the same thing against the members of Vasista Esports, Secret and Vixki remaining.
Last 2 glimmers of hope. The last 2 pillars. But what a nade from Secret. Now it's going to bring the fight at least in a bit off the court of Team Forever. And considering Omega's way too low, it's constantly taking that damage from the blue. Vasista Esports, they lose out on another player. And Mafia, he does not even need to do anything, or at least on the last man. The zone will do the damage. And that's it. Mafia's taking too much damage from the blue. It's going to be the last man standing. And now we'll try to stack up as many mets as possible upon himself.
Global Esports again having an impeccable position. Out there close by, Arsalan's been taken by the blue. That's a big problem, and Mafia will finally fall as well. Probably missed the timing on that first aid. He had 5 of them. I really thought maybe they're going to be surviving for a while though, but it's absolutely fine. Vasista Esports, even though they could not win the fight, they dealt enough damage. And now it's Saeed on one side, Revenant on the other, Raven Aim God. There should be a Global Esports chicken unless we see all the other parties unite and then take that fight. I like what Sensei has pulled off. Flock at one place and then Sensei on the other.
Now that's pretty much been the main forte for Revenant Esports. They're pretty good at taking ground in the final few moments, right? They like to cover as much space as possible in the zone, and that's what they've done. Once again, Revenant Esports thriving on the map control. While you look at the opposition, which is Global Esports, unfortunately, they're still looking to find a flawless rotation inside of the zone. Raven Esports' aim god too. It's got a clear line of sight against the players of Global Esports if they do decide to move out. And Slug right now, it does not realize he's peeking out too much. Aim god might just have the angle that's needed, and he might just strike down Slug. Global Esports, now it's time to push. And that's what he does. Sensei takes a few shots against Slug. Slug's position's noted, and he closes on up and goes prone instantly. Slug knows exactly where Sensei is. Constantly shots are taken against him, but eventually Beast will pounce on the target. And now Revenant Esports is taken down to just that one last man, which will be Sensei, and he gets ran over to death. So that's it. Raven Esports' last man is right behind that loot crate, and even he gets taken down. It's Syed OP from Team Z to survive second, and even he will be collected. Global Esports, such a clinical game from them.
We were asking questions as to when this team will find its first chicken dinner. And all those questions have been answered. What a play and what a performance from this team. Aggressive, yes, but controlled aggression.
Towards Yasna Poliana was Global Esports from the start. They did not really need to make a lot of moves, and now finally they secure that chicken dinner that we all were waiting for. Beast, Slug, every single player carries so much potential, but for now, let's move on to the stage with a short interview.
हमारा जो ये एंड्रॉयड अरीना है, कल रात को तूफान आया, बहुत बारिश हुई, बाढ़ आ गई, लेकिन एक सूखा जो है आज वो खत्म हुआ है। जी फाइनली हमारी टॉप 10 टीम्स में जो इकलौती टीम थी जिन्होंने अभी तक चिकन डिनर नहीं निकाला है, वेल यू जस्ट मैनेज टू ग्रैब योर फर्स्ट चिकन डिनर। सूखा खत्म, प्रेशर ऑफ।
हाँ, अभी ऐसा प्रेशर वेशर तो नहीं था, हम लोग तो स्टार्टिंग से एग्रेसिव अप्रोच ही रख रहे थे। अब आ गया चिकन, हम तो सोचे ही नहीं थे चिकन विकन लाएंगे। अभी सावन का महीना है तो हमने सोचा था चिकन रहने देते, बट अब आ गया तो क्या ही कर सकते हैं।
ओके, निंजा बॉय, ठीक है, वो निंजा बॉय कहाँ है जिसको सब जानते हैं? मतलब क्योंकि अभी तक वो दिखा नहीं था, बट आर यू थिंकिंग कि अब शायद वो निंजा बॉय जो है वो दिखने लगेंगे आगे जाते हुए?
अब देख लो, अभी इसी मैच से देख लो, इतना घुस घुस के दे रहा था एंटिटी वगैरह को, सीधा अकेला चले गए ये दोनों। मैं तो फिर भी अलग जोन देख रहा था, ये लोग तो सीधा ये तीनों घुस के मार के आ गए। एकदम पंप हो गया निंजा भी, अब लग रहा है निंजा का एकदम आने वाला है वापस। जैसे आप लोग देखते हो निंजा को कैसे खेलता है, वो 20 जैसे खेलता है।
ब्रो, जो लास्ट 4 टीम्स बची थी उसमें एक तुम थे और साथ में रेवन भी है जो नंबर 5th स्पॉट पे है। सो टॉप 5 टीम्स की 2 टीमें टुगेदर इन दैट सर्कल। क्या कहीं पे ऐसा लगा था दैट शायद ये फाइट जो हम दोनों के बीच में हो सकती है अब?
हाँ, मतलब लास्ट में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया था कि किसको मारे किसको नहीं। फिर हमारे आईजल ने कॉल दी कि एक साइड बताई हमको कि ऊपर रेवेनेंट वाली पहले आगे मार दो और ऊपर रेवेनेंट वाले सेंसीवाई को मार दो, वो लेटे पड़े थे। तो वैसा ही इन्होंने जैसा बोला हम लोग फाइट लिया, बट पता था वो टीम है, बट उतना डर नहीं था क्योंकि पता है मारेंगे तो वापस उल्टा रिफ्लेक्स दे देंगे, तो दे भी दिया था।
फाइनल वर्ड हमेशा कप्तान लीडर का होता है। कैसे खेले लड़के?
बहुत ज़्यादा डोमिनेट कर गए। मेरे हिसाब से इतना काफ़ी है डोमिनेशन इनका।
हैप्पी विद द परफॉर्मेंस? 10 में से कितनी रेटिंग दे रहे हो? 8 पे पहुंच चुकी है ग्लोबल, लेकिन आज ये टॉप 4 में डेफिनेटली थे, मतलब चौथी स्पॉट इन्हीं की थी। लेकिन कितना आगे बढ़ेंगे ये थोड़ी देर में पता लगेगा एज वी अवेट द स्टार्ट ऑफ मैच नंबर 2। लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, छोटा सा ब्रेक, विल बी बैक।
लड़ना हमारे खून में है। पिछली बार आंसू गिरे थे, हथियार नहीं। जी फाइटिंग।
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it, shave it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
そんな場所だ。全部壊してみっか。俺は塔のてっぺんに登って
waters. Tell me how you wanna leave. Now you hear me roll like raw in my beastly mode. Now pow, wicked unleashed. That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves, so wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider, unleash your wicked.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
We also saw Neo pull off that beautiful 1v4 against Daiku Soul, right? And that was one of those clutches that we sort of knew was coming through. The only reason why it wasn't glorified that much is because he only got 4 points out of that, right? At this point in time for CG, what matters is the points. And that's where CG's lacking.
That is indeed true, but I still think it's a good confidence booster, right? Because now he's going to think it's probably one of the protagonists of those animes that you can apparently watch on the amazing app of Crunchyroll with just 79 rupees per month of a subscription. It's the biggest anime library out there with more than 800 plus animes. But you know what? Another man who was like having a big impact in this game was definitely Beast.
Hands down, Beast with a beast performance from Global Esports, and that's why you see him all over the stars of the match. And then in between, it's going to be Shadow OG from Vasista Esports with the best companion. What's going on with Vasista Esports, man? Recently, this team has been lost because if you remember in the Survival Week, Vasista Esports, they were dominating all across the board. They like to play aggressive, but now Vasista Esports' aggressive approach isn't working out, and that's why we see Shadow OG switching up that approach to much more of a passive.
To be honest, I really thought that since they also dropped around a bit north, around the area of Severny, I was hoping that they're probably trying to go in for that bounty claim on Global Esports. But that just did not came through. And as you mentioned, the team decided to play passively, play back. And that's why they were mostly out of all of that action, right? Because it was happening all the way towards the southern part of the main island. While all these teams, they were having some fun time around the areas of Yasna, Polyana. While in the entirety of it, the only fun part that I think was there was apparently these fights where Entity just finished off the members of Godlike, and then, of course, Neo's 1v4.
Hey, for Godlike, the woes keep on continuing, right? And with that entire vibe, once again, for their chance to move into the top 4, they come down even more. But then this clutch from Neo was just incredible. IQ Soul, for a while, we felt like they were the one with the advantage to spot, but then Neo tosses on one single nade, catches 2 the players. It was a big surprise package delivered to the players of IQ Soul, and then later on, Neo pushes on up to the late zone and finds Manya too. So for IQ Soul, that's quite a bad moment. But for Team CG, yes, they did showcase a lot of hard work, but only for 4 points.
And maybe a few additional position points, maybe 1 probably. But yeah,
that's not going to count a lot.
Not exactly what you would want it to see. But honestly, this is, as I mentioned, should technically be a very big confidence booster for the team already. Seeing how Neo is constantly pulling all of these 1v4s, and not just once, twice, and not just on 2 very different days. It's like very close days, if I'm not wrong. Day before yesterday, we saw him pull off that 1v4 against Team Z, and now he's pulled it off against IQ Soul. I think so this is the best signal for them to move on to the aggressive note.
I mean, listen, all of that is fine, but still CG, they're way too far away from the top 4.
Oh,
this is way too tough. Team Z with 25 points in that previous game. What just happened? Probably they claimed the bounty onto someone. That's why they got 25 points in return. And then moving towards Global Esports, even they had quite a bit of points. For Global Esports, all they need to do is make sure that their position is going to be stuck in that top 4. And the latter half of the board, Godlike with 0 points, even Mogo Esports with 0, WSB's right there. For all the teams that we really expected and wanted to perform, once again, the performance is not there. Before Team Z, they indeed have surprised us with that previous game, right?
I mean, that was Reckoning Esports bounty, which they claimed, which we were also talking about, right? And I think so, they just made it so very simple. Probably literally as simple as how you can use the tap and pay feature on your Android devices. You just have to tap and you pay. That's about it. That's all you need to do. But yes, coming back to the same topic of Team Z, I know, I mean, the way this team played, we really hoped for no restart because of the way how they claimed that early 18 points bounty.
Listen, man, okay, I want to go back to that tap and pay feature. I mean, it seems so easy to pay that my dad's probably going to keep my Android device away from me. I mean, that's definitely going to happen because I'm going to overspend and then my dad's going to be super pissed. But yeah, moving forward, as we know, the upcoming game is also quite crucial. Holds a lot of value for especially the teams on the latter half of the board. And we've been mentioning this over and over again. For CG2, yes, just 4 points. They showcase so much hard work, but those 4 points aren't enough. They're moving fearlessly, just like our Philips 1 played. But they need to do a bit more. They need to start moving fearlessly in the stage 1 of the game. But for now, it's time for us to toss to a short break. We will be right back with the second map of the day.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. On the ride we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna lead. Now you hear me roll like raw. In my beastly mode now. Wow. Wicked unleashed. That's wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like
I mean, TZ, after having such a banger of a performance in the game 1 itself, now the question still lies. Will the consistency move on forward? Because it matters the most for this team, and not just that, for every single team that still lies on the latter half of the board. Google Play Days are live now. Grab the best BGMI deals. Do not miss out on those, my friends.
Indeed. That's probably one of the main reasons why my phone battery is low right now, because I was busy grabbing those deals for myself. But honestly, there are a lot of those teams that are trying to grab in those points, and with the way how Team Z made that comeback with those 25 points, We discussed it in the pre-show that they need 25 points per game, probably for the next 2 days, and they'd be able to make a big comeback. I guess they've heard us and they're starting things off in a solid fashion.
I mean, Shaishanu, you were so busy grabbing the deals that your phone just ran out of battery. Crazy, man.
Thank you.
Man's a greedy goblin, but a team that is really greedy for the points and the eliminations is Global Esports. They've already gotten the first chicken dinner underneath their belts with a lot of points, and now still looking forward to rock the stage even on the second game of the day. OG, they do seem packed up and ready too to step inside of the second map. Before Godlike, the first game was really bad. They managed to get 0 points, but the second game, it comes up with a new ray of hope. If Godlike, they get a nuclear performance in this game, then they still do stand a chance to crack in that top 4. If they do not, well then, good luck from the playoffs.
Well, it's the map of Miramar either ways, and it's a place where we see Entity shine the most, as they'll also be playing in this one. I guess there are some bounties to be claimed up, right? There's Raven, there's also Global Esports. I really want to see a lot of these teams play on that aggressive note. And as soon as I say aggressive note, why do Mogo keep on popping up?
I mean, Mogo Esports, I guess it's a sign from the god for them to go aggressive. They have been playing it too passive, man. They end up showing their backs to the fights, and that's been the main case even with WSB. Even WSB, it's time to go aggressive. You need to realize you guys are the powerhouse in this tournament.
True.
You guys possess so much firepower, but still, you are not going for the early game fights, and the only fight that you're going up against is Carpadium. And it's not working out that well inside of Pachinki, so maybe it's time to give up that drop location or come up with a better counter strategy.
True, because again, Carpadium this time in the previous game decided not to drop in Pochinki, and look what happened to them. Demolished by none other than the members of 8-Bit, and that too when no one actually had some good items or some good loot. But now is going to be the time for you to make that comeback. This is the last opportunity to start your epic journey into that top 4. Because that's how you'd be able to skip the playoffs and move directly into the grand finals. And with the way how Neo is performing, I think so it's high time for Carnival Gaming as well to take those early fights.
CG is one of those teams that's been able to make so much impact, but not exactly on the overall board. Because all the players are being lost out in the early phase, and then it's just Neo left it out to try and get something done.
Yes.
And Neo usually does so too, but just one single man won't be able to get the maximum performance, and that's why the overall board is still lacking for Team Z. But they need to do something. For Team CG, even they need to pull off another miraculous, another good game. But for Reckoning Esports, they just need to make sure that the cushion between the first and the second spot isn't being closed on up by the other teams, because the previous game was really bad for them.
Agreed, and not just for one, for both of them, as you mentioned. Reckoning Esports, we really thought that maybe they're going to show some nuclear performance, but they only ended up getting 4 points out of that. And that was also thanks to how they got a couple of members of Team Z finished off, but again, then were wiped out by them entirely, so 18 points offered to the other side. But it's absolutely fine again, as long as it's Team Z. I know they're not going to be that much trouble because this team is still all the way down onto the second page. But yes, with the way how Global Esports got that big chicken dinner, you know that this team is also closing up to steal away that first spot.
Listen, you're blabbering too much. Let me bring the main focus towards Picado. One Blade and CG once again playing in the same lobby. There will be a big drop collision coming through off the start. I mean, CG's been the one to grab the power play points usually, but this time, One Blade, they might just come up with a better plan. Because One Blade in their firefights recently, they have been dominating.
Yes, I would agree, and I would also like to mention the fact that last couple of times, One Blade have been dropping around Picado, not exactly directly in it. Just again because they know that taking those head-on collision fights is basically a date with death. Because Carnival Gaming performs fantabulously. So One Blade, they grab in a bit of a loot and then they try to move in to take those fights. But I really want to see what's going to happen all the way up towards the other locations as well. Because Mogo, they would normally want to drop towards Impala. Revenant drops in over towards Los Leones.
And if you remember, the last time when we saw Aiku Soul drop towards La Cabrera, Reckoning Esports was on the hunt. They were on the prowl.
Yes.
Luckily enough, Aiku Soul isn't playing this time, so for Reckoning Esports, now they need to switch up their target and try and target some other team. But they've also got a bounty on top of their head, so they need to be responsible. Reckoning Esports, if they get eliminated from this game, they will deliver extra 10 points to some team. and they will also bring back the signs and the hopes.
True.
So they need to be extra cautious if they are going on a hunt. Soon enough, the second game of the day will begin too. But just have a look at the faces of the players. Aquinox, of course, having some nice smiles. You've also got Mogo Esports, a team that needs to start going on the aggressive end. Sensei and the boys, as usual, super funny. The Sensei man himself, just look at him making the eye contact towards the camera. Of course, he's trying to pull off some nice shenanigans there, but now it's time for us to toss to a short break, and we'll be right back with the game.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. On the ride we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Time to test the waters. Tell me how you wanna lead. Now you hear me roll like raw. In my beastly mode now. Wow. Wicked unleashed. Yes, wicked. All the cuts and the curves. So wicked. Take what you deserve. It's wicked.
TVS Raider. Unleash your wicked.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow. Celebrate every second.
Moments away from stepping inside of the last game of the day, and the question is still there. This game of Miramar matters so much for the teams on the latter half of the board, and I've been emphasizing on this fact for such a long time, because today can be the last potential chance for the teams on the latter half of the board to try and establish some sort of comeback so they can give that ray of hope to the fans. But if they don't establish any comeback, then we know they will take the longer route through the playoffs.
And that playoffs, as much as we would want to say it's a longer route, it's not as long as a lot of those teams think. You majorly have a less than 3 days to work around with, and it's even more problematic for you because of the less number of games. So this is probably a few of the best opportunities that you have in your arsenal to try and pull these shenanigans off, as all the congratulations are being sent, all the prayers are being prayed. There are 3 bounty teams in your lobby, so you have to try to get one. I wanted to rhyme it up with claim, but either ways. This is like the last chance for all of these teams, as we've been mentioning, specifically for today, to claim those bounties to end this day on a very good note.
Team X Park, they've always been a big mystery. I mean, a team that won the championship recently and now in BGMS Season 3, we're not even seeing a performance that was close to what they showcased a few months back. true. Team X Spark, it feels like they've completely lost their edge. All the way at the bottom in the overall standings, it's definitely something that's stinging the players over and over again, but for some reason, it makes me believe that they're doing this intentionally. Godsreen, a team that is there at the top of the board, or maybe you can't say on the second spot of the board, Godsreen, they've always been the hunting pack. They've always been super hungry for the points. Revenue Esports, a team that is sort of in the mid-pack, they can easily squeeze in the top 4 if they get one single solid performance, but Sensei knows the lineup that he's got, he's supposed to play so slow, methodical, and tactical, and that's what he's been trying to bring to the lobby. But here we go. The last game of the day begins now. As the plane's gonna hit the skies once again. The plane flap pad starts all the way from El Pozo towards the southern side of Los Leones.
Anyone who would want to go in over towards north, somewhere around water treatment, El Azhar, they're gonna have to take a pit stop. Cannot move in directly there. But I'm interested to see where all the other teams would take a drop, right? Since we've been mentioning Aiku Soul as well. I want to see where all the other teams would take their exit from that plane. Mogo, I think so they do not have a big problem. Impala is in the way. But Raven and Entity, they're the ones to take that first exit, followed by WSB. I want to look at Picardo, man, at this point. Carnival Gaming and One Blade. Show me that duel.
Team X Spark will move towards San Martin. That's their usual drop location. WSB probably moving down south towards Chumacero, La Trilera. Then you've also got OG moving towards Chumacera, Godsreen. They're moving somewhere on the right side. Reckoning Esports will also take an exit soon from that plane flight path. I want to see some drop collisions. I mean, so far we are not witnessing any of those, but maybe towards Picado, there can be one occurring soon. There is one blade taking an exit towards that same vicinity. And we do see the players of Global Esports too towards that Picado area. They're probably not going to drop in towards Picado itself, but somewhere around the vicinity, probably trying to get their hands on the basic weaponry and then maybe go for the third party. That's probably the game plan, because even Godsreen are thinking the same way. One blade, they find themselves in a bit of a kerfuffle up against the players of Team X Spark in the front, and even Global Esports is right around the corner. For One Blade, this is not looking too nice. Before Team X Spark, even it's not looking too great for them. Ninja Boy at the top is definitely trying to disengage from the fight, considering he's all he's got in his hands on the pen, and he's now dropping down. Ninja Boy is just fiddling around with the enemies like a toy. And for One Blade, they're not able to spot the glimmer of that player. They do hear the footsteps, they know exactly where he's moving, but still, they need some sort of a glimmer to try and find the man, and eventually they do.
Taking him down as well. Him picking up that weaponry was of absolutely no use. But on the other side, I want to see a quick trade coming in. But there's absolutely no moves being made from the side of X-Spark. There's been another quality fight that I wanted to witness. If I'm not wrong, I guess Mogo have already lost their member.
Yeah, Revenue Esports up against the players. Mogo! And what am I watching? Seth! Almost wiping out 2 players. Robin, he does eventually get the return knock on to Seth, but Revenue Esports, a fight off the rip is something that's not been converted that easily in the favor of Revenant. As now Flog goes for the loot on the fallen players. Destro spots out the man. He's got 7 bullets in the Winchester, and he connects 1, which was quite the crucial one. And Revenue Esports, a team that's supposed to play so methodical, this time they're not doing so because they collide against Mogo in a pit stop collision.
Winchester the GOAT. That's why I love this weapon.
Sure, man. Let's do 1v1. You use Winchester and I use my favorite weapon.
Sure, done. We'll do that one day. But honestly, there's another 1v1 happening, and yet again, it's the members of Reckoning up against Team Z. And seems like Reckoning are handling them back the return gift for the previous game that happened against them, as Team Z are being punched by Destro.
There's no way Destro's trying to do this. This has got to be a joke. Destro, your head's on the swivel, and you do not have the right weaponry to go for the fight. And this is what will happen. We all saw this coming. 8-bit, they are taking a bit of return damage, but once again, they are the one to find the man advantage inside of the fight. If they want, they can just push on up against Mogo. Mogo are not prepared for this duel. 8-bit, on the other hand, they do seem like they've got decent weaponry and the mets to play with.
They can definitely try to push it on, as you mentioned. I would have in fact wanted to see them actually push out against those members, but there's also a possibility for lots of third parties. There's Team Tamilas out in the vicinity as well, but Justin Tries to fire in a lot of those shots. Finally, the player is going to turn around his vehicle, but being caught out in the open, that is horrible for 8-bit.
What just happened with 8-bit? Usually, they choke up the fights, and that's what happens once again. What? They choked this one up too. I mean, I thought they started things off with the advantage. They had every single thing in their court, and they still mess it up. 8-bit, what was that?
Crossbow?
And now you've got CG pushing up close and personal against OnePlate and Team X-Spark. OnePlate on the receiving end, Team X-Spark too. A while ago they were there. They are now eliminated. And Goblin to close things off against OnePlate too. CG, the cleanup crew in this fight.
What is even happening? We're seeing melee weapons being used. We're seeing crossbows being used.
That's 14 finish points accumulated from CG instantly. This power grenade was stacked up with so many teams. And I guess a lot of these teams knew that there's going to be a fight in Picado. And that's why they dropped around that vicinity to try and take an advantage of that Picado fight, but then ended up fighting against each other.
Insane, man, at this point. And this is the beginning. This is the start that we were talking about for Carnival Gaming, that this team has got that firepower to play in aggressive.
Carnival Gaming's back in the race, 100%.
They are. After this one, they are. If they're able to close it, I would still say that maybe tomorrow, if they perform in the similar manner, they could definitely end up in the third or even the fourth spot.
I would honestly say just go on a hunt. Yeah, and that's what CG will definitely try to do. But they're moving towards Picado. They want to be secure and safe when it comes to that loot. They were definitely lacking a bit when it comes to that. So they move in towards Picado, probably try and restock up a bit more. There's God's Ring around the vicinity, and God's Ring, they've got a bounty on top of their head. If CG, they do manage to wipe out the existence of God's Ring, then that's going to be additional 10 points. So that's so crucial. And CG, they might just try to break the record that we witnessed in the past of 49 points.
Possibly, but did that one player of God's Ring fell to Carnival Gaming? That's a big question. Because they've got 3 players remaining. But seeing all that fights that happened a while ago, so much action all around the board. Again, Destro, that was a good pick. But again, just going out in the open like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Destro was thinking, right?
Yeah, questionable decision.
Moving out in the open with just a Winchester in the hands. And yeah, the last man just gets sliced and diced to his death. But yeah, for Mogo Esports' Destro, it's like he was feeling the adrenaline, right? Mogo Esports, they've managed to get 8 points so far. And now Mogo, they're chill. They're not going to go for the fights anymore. I know Mogo Esports, man. That's what they're exactly going to do. Now, they're just going to try to play for the chicken dinner, 100%. Considering One Eye Jill's out, now it's time for Robin to take in charge.
It's not worth it, to be very honest. Getting 8 points with the chicken, you're going to get 218. Few extra frags left, right, and center. That pulls you to 22, 23. All right, understandable one game, but the consistency needs to be there. And we know Mogo as a team which is never playing aggressive in the early game. The only reason why they've got these finishes is because of the fact that there was a pit stop collision.
It was forced, you can't say.
Exactly.
They were forced to go for that fight. They did come out on top because they had the weaponry advantage against the foe. So yeah. But you got to feel bad for Revenant. Now down to just one man. I mean, Sensei was staring at the camera a while ago. Yeah. And now Mogo Esports is staring at the existence of Revenant Esports in this game.
You know that Sensei is lingering around the members of Mogo. He wants to have that blood back, man. He just wants to pick someone apart from Mogo as soon as
I would love to see that.
I know, right?
Hold on. Entity and Raven wait to a close against each other. And what am I witnessing? A fight towards Oasis? It's been a while. It's been ages since I witnessed a fight in this terrain. And now Entity, they do take a lot of shots against Hulk, but the man still makes it out alive. Now he needs to close on up towards his teammates. He's going for quite a longer route. But as I mentioned, it's been such a long time since I witnessed a fight in this terrain.
It is never supposed to happen. That's the whole reason. But again, it's BGMS, man. Master Series brings out so much. So many new possibilities.
I've already got a beautiful tagline for Season 4.
That is?
Expect the unexpected.
Wow, what an original line.
But yeah, I mean, if Season 4 is coming out, sure. But we do not know exactly if that's going to happen. But I definitely do have a really good tagline.
True.
I mean, project manager, if you guys are listening to me, hit me up.
We can talk about the pricing later.
But yeah, Mogo Esports constantly taking shots against Revenant.
True.
Once again, they're not letting loose of that track. Mogo Esports are like the Bloodhounds, and they've found the trail. They're not going to let go off of that. Sensei, the man's got nothing. He's got an M16A4. That's not going to help him a lot. And whenever I see Sensei's face, for some reason, I just start laughing.
Why?
I don't know, man. He's such a funny guy. I know him personally. He's such a fun guy.
True that. He's a very fun guy.
I'm pretty sure if I was sitting right next to him in this moment, Sensei would have been laughing.
I mean, laughter is the best medicine, and to be honest, sometimes you really need that stress buster.
But sometimes you need that pain, because that's something that molds you as a human being.
Wow. That's why he's constantly traveling on foot and following up Mogo. But here's the thing, even Mogo knows that Sensei is there. So even they are not letting go. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. One way to get your
driving.
vehicle stuck. I mean, we saw a lot of those moments yesterday happen in Delhi, right?
Oh my god, bro. But yes, I agree. I agree. It was exactly the opposite of what the situation is. There was just too much water, waterlogged every single place.
Yeah, the outcome was same.
True. Stuck vehicles.
Raven, an entity. It's been going on for a while. These guys are just eyeing each other out, nothing else. They're just staring into each other's souls. But no one's daring to go up close and personal and challenge for a fight. For Raven Esports, they know they're surrounded. For Entity, they know they've got the zone advantage and Raven would need to move in soon. So for Entity, they can just keep on pinning down this pod for a while. But they also need to realize one thing, that power play is going to be closing on up soon in the span of 35 seconds.
True. That's 20 seconds remaining now for the power play. And as you mentioned, it is going to be Raven pushed out of that situation. They're going to be a bit too awkward. But at the end of the day, I think so they can still go in for a big long rotation, right? Okay. Okay. You do parkour with your body. This man is doing parkour with a vehicle. But alright, they just reposition a little bit. Probably faking out Raven that they have rotated off.
Probably. But no, they're just repositioning themselves in a better spot inside the zone. Entity, they have spread themselves out quite wide, which is nice. Now look at Team Z all the way down south towards Portona. I'm not sure how well the strat's going to pan out for the boys, but for Team Z, they're playing it too safe. They've already ran through the power play, nothing accumulated. Mogo Esports right next to the players of OG. Sensei is right there, one single man, feeling too lonely. And he's also now starting to tank that damage from the blue. I'm pretty sure Sensei's trying to get his hands on the vehicle.
Possibly. But is he going to find one is a big question. And how is he going to even take that entry? If in case he wants to.
So that's been the main thing for BGMS, right? Taking the entry inside of the zone isn't tough. Sustaining the first two stages has been tough.
Yes, agreed. First two, perfectly mentioned. But we've seen quite a few times on the map of Miramar. I mean, for the last 4 times, I guess, or at least 3, we have seen quite a lot of these teams remain for the last few circles.
Mogo Esports is so screwed. They've got no clue. There's death up waiting. If Mogo Esports, they eject outside of that building, Aru's just ready with his crosses trained. But Mogo Esports is just going to camp over here. They do not want to go anywhere else. Mogo Esports, they're super cautious about the surroundings. They do not know what the area holds for them. Outside of the zone, too, they've got no vehicle to play with. So Mogo Esports, they need to start doing something as soon as possible. They smoke out the vehicle. Now they're on the move as well as Aru is taking shots against them. And Mogo Esports, they spot out Aru. Do they want to go for the return fire? That's my real question. Aru is still at the top. Now it's probably getting pounced on by the players of Mogo Esports. And Aru, now he's looking to back away.
Oh, Aru is stuck. He's got no backup, or does he? Mogo Esports, I don't really like this kind of one-dimensional push from Mogo Esports. They can be fired upon from so many directions.
I mean, luckily enough for Mogo Esports, Aura is isolated. His teammates are way too far away. But as soon as I say that, a beautiful nade comes into play. Aura's already found 2 knockouts. For Mogo Esports, it's down to that one last man. And I'm pretty sure OG will try to take this fight whatsoever. AKOP and Veron pushing on up. And they've got no reason to hold back. Mogo Esports, they're also taking damage from the opposite side. And the other man can't go for the revival just like that. One man still back up on his feet. Delta PG is still knocked out. Is looking to find some sort of mercy from the opponents. And Robin, with the DBS in the hands, is looking for to deliver that pain and hurt. Veron catches a bit of that damage upon himself, but eventually AKOP, he comes back and he strikes down another player. Justin is taken down way too low. Now pulls out the barrel in his hands. 22 bullets in the magazine. And AKOP still playing around the edge. All it takes is one single glimmer. Justin is way too low. One single bullet is all that's needed, and he will find the connection.
Finally. A little too late though, could not save Aru whatsoever, but it's absolutely fine. They get 3 points. Had it been in the power play itself, this would have been 6. But it's absolutely okay for them, and Mogo wanted to play safe. This time they tried to take that fight, but even that last stand of Aru catching 2 people, that was where things were just changed up perfectly. But this time around, it's Carnival Gaming up against the members of Team Tamilas.
Team Tamilas, Manti and Fox OP.
Bounty.
2 players. I mean, look, for Team Tamilas, as you mentioned, they were holding the bounty, but not anymore. So they're also a 3-man squad. And right now it's not the power play. So for Team Tamilas, you might as well just go back to the basics, right? Just the way you like to play. Safe and passive. And I guess that's what the game plan's going to be for Mr. IGL too, considering he knows he's got a decent position inside of the zone. They just need to wait out for the upcoming stages. So Mr. IGL is probably going to keep his boys pinned down in the same area. I mean, Minas Generalis is not a bad spot if you do find yourself the pinnacle.
True that. And considering the zone has been taking, the zone did actually take a drastic shift over towards that southern side. They're trying to stay put there. On the other side of the spectrum though, Entity and Raven. Raven have still tanked in a lot of damage from blue. I don't know how much loot was available in Oasis, but now they're trying to breach in directly from the Hacienda or San Martin's area. And I guess Troy should be able to spot them, either Troy or Aquanox.
This Miramar has been interestingly slow.
Yes.
I mean, we did see a quick burst of fights right at the start. Revenant facing so many casualties. Then you also had the power grid area just completely stacked up with teams where we saw some big fights happen. CG, they came in as the cleanup crew, cleaned up the entire power grid, and now moving in towards the safety lands. You've also got WSB right in the smack center. WSB, they've just been playing it super safe, and for some reason, as I mentioned, it's the same problem with that team. They need to realize they have so much potential in the firefights, and they would want to go for the firefights, but still, for some reason, they're not doing so. They're just not able to find confidence.
Got a hard shift over towards the north.
Look at Global Esports.
Exactly.
Oh, they control the entire zone.
Fully
I mean,
spread
they are
out.
spread out, but it's time to reunite now.
And this is almost the exact same strategy that they pulled out yesterday as well, if I'm not wrong. Spreading out the players, or maybe it was day before yesterday on the map of Miramar. They were playing on a split of 2 and 2. Both the players, both the duos playing on the opposite ends. And then eventually, when the circle shifted onto one of them, they all just rendezvoused together.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably what they're doing even now.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like the insurance policy that we spoke of.
Long back.
I mean, Global Esports spreading themselves out just to make sure that they will be inside of the zone. But luckily enough, the zone forms right on top of them. So they've got the advantage whatsoever. God's Green, they're playing it super safe as well, considering they've got the bounty on top of their head. For Entity, they do breach in from the northern side. It's quite a clear breaching point. 8-Bit, once again, down to just Mighty. They have managed to get 2 points, but that's really not going to help them at all, considering their situation's way too dicey in the overall standings.
Big problem, as you mentioned. For Revenant, I don't think so it's going to be that big of a deal. They're at the 8th spot, 154 points. Yes, they do need a couple of big games to probably breach into the top 4 yet again, or at least have a decent amount of cushioning. But I think so, it's absolutely fine. They've been having some good games for the previous few games, so one slip up is understandable.
Oh, Raven finding themselves in a bit of a pickle here out in the open. Not a big fan of the position the boys have acquired, but definitely something that can keep them lasting for a while. All the 4 players gathered in that one single vicinity. And Raven Esports, they've also got a man who's the Overwatch in the back line, so I like that. Not tunnel visioned on just one single spot. They've got their eyes pinned all across the board. You need to have the surrounding awareness, especially in the late game. And we have seen majority of the times Team Z lacking that. But Team Z having a really good performance in the first game, so that really capitalizes onto everything. But for Global Esports, up against the Players of Gods, which are way too far away still, this will be an interesting fight. For Carnival Gaming, they've got the momentum, they've got the swing of things in their hands. 15 points accumulated so far. Carnival, they are indeed having quite a dominant game.
Yes.
But are they really going to keep on going aggressive? I mean, they have 15 points. If they want, they can press the charges. They can put the pedal to the metal and try and head back to players of Raven Esports, because that's where they're looking to find the breaching point for him.
This is a fight that I don't think so they can technically avoid. But yeah, it seems to be like they're trying to go in a bit more north and then take that entry. But Raven, Hulk, he's actually going in for the scouting, making sure that he knows where exactly are the members of Carnival Gaming, providing some good intel back to the team. Now,
okay, Hanzo in the open. Arsalan misses all the shots. This could have been a potential knock for Global. But unfortunately, Arsalan misses that initial opportunity. And now, for Raven Esports, they're well aware of Arsalan's position. That should have been the knockout. Unfortunate. Global Esports, if the opener was found, imagine, we know what Global Esports is capable of, but still it's a big gamble that Global would want to take. You prioritize the positioning or the points. And I'm pretty sure Global Esports will try to prioritize the position. So anyways, the fight wouldn't have came through.
True. They will prioritize the position, as you mentioned. But again, this is a very aggressive team whenever we are talking about them. Always like to be in a state where they still can answer back. And it seems like we're going to see Godlike finally opening things up against the members of Reckoning. Already confirming one, if I'm not wrong. And that's a big blow to Reckoning already. Now Gravity Hunters, Dino, all 3 of them remaining. And this is possibly a bounty that Godlike can claim.
I mean, yeah, it is activated. But Godlike, they need to watch out. The 4-on-4 fights haven't been looking too good. For Reckoning Esports, yeah, they've got the man disadvantage, but understand this, their confidence is much more higher compared to the players of Godlike. This 3-on-4 can be pulled off. WSB's there on the sidelines, Reckoning Esports. There's also Sensei approaching from the southern side, so the backline's going to be a bit exposed too. Scout OP spots out the players to CG, but he's still not going for the shots anyways, considering he wants to keep his position anonymous. For Team Z, Scout and Kylo are the last 2 remaining hopes, and they need to move inside of the safe zone too, but the only way they can do so is either go for a really longer route, wait for teams to fight off against each other, or try and collide against CG.
It's a hard choice, man. I don't think so either one of them is going to help them out that well. You, at the end of the day, have to take those fights, either now or later. They haven't really got good amount of points in this one. Absolutely 0. So it would be possibly better to try and wait for a few seconds. Maybe see if Carnival actually gets in a big fight against any other team, that they can try and jump it for the third party. Because that might seem to be happening, as Raven want to breach into the circle itself, and Carnival should be there to take that answer.
Listen, all of that is fine, but look at Team Tumulus. As usual, once again finding themselves a great spot inside of the zone.
Yes.
And this has been the main forte for Team Tumulus, especially Mr. Igil. He knows how to go for that centric spot every single time, no matter what the outcome or the circumstances. WSB took a few shots upon themselves, scratched up a bit by Global Esports. Not enough to find the initial knocker, which is completely fine. But Global Esports, this spread, once again, it's coming into fruition. They need to move inside of the safe zone, which they will slowly and steadily. But WSB is now going to be the main concern for Global. If WSB, they push on up against Global Esports, then Global Esports will be screwed. But if WSB, they do not do so, Global Esports, they're chilling. But then the main problem will be occurring for WSB, considering they will be pincered from both the sides.
True. But since we're already talking about that, WSB now taking the fight against the members of Reckoning, while Global Esports are firing upon Raven, who basically took a knock from Carnival Gaming. This is going to be a madness of a zone now.
Exactly what I mentioned, right? It's now going to be a chain effect. If WSB do not push up against Global Esports, then Global Esports will cause problems for WSB. But Raven Esports, they're busy taking fight against Global. As Beast is there, blows in personal, and still the knock is not being found yet. Reaper is able to find the second knockout, but Global Esports, they deliver the last blow to Raven. As they have been leaving from the lobby, you've got WSB chasing a fight against the players of Reckoning, and Reckoning 2 on the move.
Unclaimable bounty now whatsoever. Trigger's been taking some shots onto him, and Carnival Gaming pushing at the perfect time, realizing that Global are hurt and they will delete all of them. With that, Carnival Gaming, I'll have to check if they actually were able to claim that bounty or not, because it does seem to be the case.
That's a really good question. Did Carnival Gaming claim the bounty, considering Global Esports, a few players are knocked out? And if they do not get the confirmation on the knocked players,
they have claimed it.
Then it's not a bounty. And as you mentioned, Carnival Gaming, they have claimed the bounty, so that's really good. It's a nuclear performance all the way for Carnival Gaming, and exactly the conversation we had before the game started. Oh my god, we are predicting the futures.
Seems to be the case, I guess. Because again, Global Esports, they were at the second position. A massive way to flush out all of those players and finish them off. But now Carnival Gaming have to take that entry into the circle itself, and there's Team Tamilas in front of them. There's also Reckoning Esports. Entity would be hot on their heels. WSB trying to breach in from the southern part itself, while Godlike, after a long time, they have occupied a good amount of map control, but only Admino in the safe spot.
If CG managed to get 25 finish points, this will be one hell of a banger performance. Just imagine. I mean, CG looking to breach in from the southern side, and WSB is right next to him. And WSB is one of those teams that's been struggling in their firefights. A really good trade from S-Power. He gets the instant confirmation too. Before CG, where's the backup? That's my question. S-Power's there, blows in personal, and Zero finds the perfect spam. S-Power does not even stand a chance in that duel. Before WSB, the woes keep on continuing, considering CG is also taking shots against them, and at the same time, it's also the Blessed Godlike taking a fight. And WSB, now they're in shambles. They do not have the man in number to try and take a fight against Godlike. Before Godlike, they've got the man advantage. All it takes is a few utilities to claim the spot against WSB, to claim the squad wipe against them. But Armand, he repositions himself, will try to go for the revival.
True, but Team Tamilas, Mr. IGL as well, wanted to jump in. They'll be taking down the members of WSB. Some amazing nades coming in, being tossed in from the members of Godlike. Finally confirms that, but Team Tamilas wanted to come in for the third party. But they do not see any player of Godlike knocked out, but all of them are close together, and they're finally going for the pounds.
I mean, Team Tamilas, they have been quiet throughout this entire game. Now it's time to unleash the chaos in the lobby. But just like that, Godlike, they have eliminated the existence of Team Tamilas. They were here to break the silence, but instead they got silent themselves. The players being slapped back to the lobby, Godlike feeling themselves, 10 finish points accumulated. But you cannot overshadow the 20 finish points performance from CG.
Oh my goodness, OG bouncing on another third party coming in, and Godlike should be taken down as the apes
are
perfectly moving the vehicles on them, and it's admin knocked down yet again. Perfect way to pounce onto the Bruce team.
And now look at Godlike. One last man has the glimmer of hope, and that's going to be in the name of Jonathan. The man's cooking up a nade, and he's not going to be able to find anything. But OG, now they know there's still one more man left around in that vicinity. As soon as OG took that fight, they instantly moved towards the safety lines. The only reason why they pushed on up against Godlike is because they wanted to clear the back lines. But still, one more foe is left right there.
Exactly. It's God's reign and they are trying to pounce on the members of Reckoning. And if they go in for that, that means OG will have the priority in the positioning itself. And as soon as I say that, Venom's been knocked down on his feet, and that too by AK. So it should be Orangutan winning it.
I mean, OG, all they're doing is just waiting for these tombs to be done. And now Altu and Phantom, the last two remaining players from God's Reign, and even they're getting pounced on. Phantom finds the first knockout against Atanki. OG taken down to a two-man squad. I'm not sure what that push was from Atanki, but he gets caught instantly. And now that's going to bring the man number to a 2-on-2. OG had the man advantage, but they just threw it away.
The circle... Yeah, you've got one man inside of it, but Veron is the one who's actually spotting all the players out. Altu will be taken down a bit low by AKOP's off angle, but he can't stay in that off angle for a long time. He will be pushed in by that blue.
Yeah, God's Reign is pincered from both the sides. The high ground's in the hand of OG. And if OG still lose out this fight from this position, then it's going to be a lot of question marks upon them. A beautiful nade from AKOP finds the knocker onto Altu. That's the opening that was needed. And now OG, they can't push on up slowly and steadily. AKOP and Veron, two of the nuclear performers for OG. They do decide to pop off as Phantom is looking to find that initial knockout against OG to bring back the numbers in his favor, but he does not stand a chance. He will be taken down too. And it's the Apes to close things off and get a chicken dinner on the second game of the day.
Beautiful celebration as well coming in from them, and some good decisions in game itself. Realizing that the finish speed shows a couple of players from Godlike have been knocked down, pushed up against them, took the gods down, and then moved forward and to have a good positioning as well. Utilizing the opportunity of the third party, prioritizing the positions and winning the chicken dinner.
OG, they did not go for a lot of the fights, but in the end, they went for the finishing blow. Let's move on to the stage for a short interview.
Orangutan, ये दूसरा चिकन डिनर वो तो करो यार, सेलिब्रेशन जो कर रहे थे सब एक बार फिर से देखना चाहते हैं, करना भाई? There you go. भाई एक वो अर्जुन था और एक AKOP है भाई, बचपन तो अभी भी है लेकिन निशानची बहुत अच्छे हो यार तुम.
अब ट्रेनिंग की है तो कहीं तो दिखेंगी.
आरू, यू नो आपका ये दूसरा चिकन डिनर है एंड आज हमने जब शुरुआत में बात की थी, ये बाहर खड़े हुए थे रेवेनेंट के सॉल्टी के साथ, कुछ बातचीत चल रही थी इनकी और उस टाइम मैंने कहा था कि आप लोग अभी 7 स्पॉट पे हो, कल शुरुआत से पहले 9वें स्पॉट पे थे. कुछ चीज़ें अभी भी शायद सेट ही बैठ रही है, आप इतनी जल्दी फिनिश क्यों हो गए आज?
मैंने सोचा था कि मैं मोह अकेले जाके क्लच कर दूंगा क्योंकि 3 ही बंदे थे उनके, तो मैंने जाके 2 नॉक दे दिए. फिर मैं सोचा यार अगर मैं उनको क्लच कर दूंगा वो बेचारे पहले से अच्छा नहीं खेल पा रहे और डिमोटिवेट हो जाएंगे, तो मैंने सोचा कि बाद में मेरे टीममेट्स आके मार देंगे उनको.
जब ये गेम से बाहर हो गए थे तब कुछ इंटरनल बातचीत हुई, कुछ ऐसे शब्द जो हैं वो बोले गए जो शायद उस टाइम पे नहीं बोलने चाहिए थे कि यार ये क्या कर दिया?
नहीं, हम तो कॉन्फिडेंट थे. इसने बोला कि चिकन निकाल लेना, हमने निकाल दिया.
लास्ट में आपकी जो फाइनल बैटल थी गॉड्स के साथ, उस टाइम पे सर्कल का कंट्रोल आपके पास था और नेट पे नेट, क्या उसी टाइम पे आपको लग गया था कि इट्स जस्ट अ मैटर ऑफ टाइम?
लाइक उनका एक बंदा मैंने मारा और हमको पता था कि स्टार्टिंग में सीजी से उनका एक बंदा फिनिश हुआ है, तो हम पिन था, वो लोग पिन थे, हमने कंट्रोल ले लिया हाई ग्राउंड का और फिर कहते
भाई आप क्योंकि पूरी दुनिया में देख रही है, भाई का बर्थडे है, ठीक है, भाई का बर्थडे है, तो एक बार टीम ओरंगुटान के 3 मेंबर्स एक बार गा देते हैं यार ऑन द काउंट ऑफ 3. 1 2 3 हैप्पी बर्थडे गाना दोस्त. 1 2 3 हैप्पी बर्थडे
टू यू, हैप्पी बर्थडे टू यू, हैप्पी बर्थडे डियर पाजी.
All right, man. Atanki ka birthday. Orangutan picks up a chicken dinner. They're still in the hunt to make it to the top 4 and go into the finals. Boys, what do you think about that?
रैंगल के जंगल में 2 बार हुआ फंबल. सीजन 3 में होगा असली दंगल. ना 3rd ना 2nd, इस बार नंबर 1. गेट रेडी फॉर द रोल.
It seems like the boys definitely had their game face on with the Garnier men's face wash, because what a game that was. I mean, CG, with the way they performed, 20 finish points claimed. I mean, I just want to move on forward and look at the match standings, because that's where everything will be revealed. I'm pretty sure CG, they had so many points, somewhere around maybe 38.
Exactly. I think so. Maybe somewhere around 29 or 30. We'll have to check if in case they really did claim the bounty or not. But I personally feel that they might have claimed the global esports bounty. I was trying to find it in the finish feed if someone else finished off another player, but that was not just the case. So we'll have to get a rain check on that. But honestly, with the way how the highlights went, with the way how the first circle started, there were quite a lot of fights bursting in onto different parts of the map.
All thanks to the planned flat path, right? This aggressive start was something that was needed, and finally we got that. Mogo Esports 2 coming out on top in that aggressive end of things. CG, Goblin, just slashing the last man to death. And then later on, Aru was just pincered in this one single area. He did manage to strike down the 2 players of Mogo, but that was not enough. The cavalry arrived off the apes, and then they wiped out the entirety of Mogo Esports. I mean, they did claim a few points off the rib, and that's something that's just going to keep them the semblance of hope that maybe we can be back in the top 4.
We'll have to check that again, because you really need some bonker games now from this point onwards. Not just 1, but 2 or 3. Just like how Carnival had this one. Yes, it was absolutely amazing for them, but honestly, when they went in to take the fight against the members of WSB, even I thought that maybe Carnival might win it, but Goblin was nowhere to be found. So again, a few of the questionable decisions coming in. He was probably staying back to provide the cover, but one team that played amazing in this one was definitely Godlike.
It's like CG, they overheated in that moment.
Yes.
CG, they were feeling themselves so much in the fights that they unfortunately miscalculated the presence of WSB, and they just set their foot in a big trap that just activated instantly. A spring trap with WSB. In the final few moments, I just love the way OG repositioned themselves, especially AKOP.
Yes.
Finding himself in that perfect flank angle, going for that high ground, and pinning down the players of Godsreen underneath them, and then the utils at the top. It was just like the cherry.
Yes, it was perfect, and it was about the time factor as well, right? Because I was mentioning, if in case we would see Godsreen survive for a while longer, then AK will be pushed forward. He would be in the disadvantage. But even after that, they just tossed those utilities perfectly. There was the bombardment from 2 different directions, and this was basically the part where the trench was not supporting you. It was the high ground that actually helped you out.
I mean, in general, if you are a team having the high ground, you will definitely have the advantage in the fight,
Yes.
too. And OG, they had the high ground. It was not just AKOP. Even his teammate Veron had the high ground to play with. And for unfortunately Godsreen, the utility was able to find the first opener. I mean, they already had the odds stacked against them, and then later on, even a util flows on up, so you can't really do a lot in that scenario. Phillips one blade, move fearlessly moments of the day. This is how the day kicked off. I mean, the map of Erangel was filled with a lot of shenanigans, especially Carpedium facing off against Team 8-Bit, where Team 8-Bit this time, they were doing a lot of that stuff in a good rate.
Yes, because normally we would see Carpedium drop in Pochinki, take fight against WSB, claim early 8 points and move forward with a couple of casualties. But that is not what happened this time, and Mogo were welcomed by none other than the members of Aiku Soul, camping on the ferry pier bridge, welcoming them with open arms and a lot of open bullets.
But teams like Fascista Esports, they have still lost their form. A team that is supposed to be at the top of the table is now starting to choke up. Fascista Esports' day wasn't too fine, but they still do stand a chance to breach in that top 4. Tomorrow's day is going to be super crucial. For
Yes.
CG, today's day was so important, and they actually performed when it matters the most. We also saw Neo pull off a 1-on-4 against Aiku Soul. That was quite mesmerizing, quite iconic, and at this point, Neo has been the clutch meister for this team. And then later on, Global Esports, they moved on forward, claimed that chicken dinner. They did not even break a sweat, but DZ, they got the most amount of points in that entire game 1.
Exactly, because they claimed in a bounty on the members of Reckoning Esports themselves. It was a 2-for-4 trade, and TZ lost a couple of members but was super happy with the way they performed. They managed to grab a few extra position points too, specifically that second position, and ended up getting those 25 points of a banger. But again, this was a banger start for Carnival Gaming, as Goblin was just slicing people apart, thinking the other people were, I'm not going to take the name of that character, but Orangutan as well. firing upon the members of Mogo after they already won the fight against Revenant.
Not so much of a banger start for Revenant Esports, Team X, Spark, and OnePlate. Once again, these three teams, they collapse in a big fashion because Revenant Esports, they're supposed to be the formidable opponent, especially on this map. The last time we witnessed Revenant Esports play the map in Miramar, they came out on top with quite a tactical victory. But this time, they did not even stand a chance because the plane flat path wasn't supporting their drop location. And it was OG in the final few moments with their brilliance to come out on top, especially AKOP creating that flank angle, making sure that the opponents will be pincered right in the center with the lower ground.
True, and that was a perfect play, a smart play coming in as well, because as you mentioned, they made sure to clear their backlines first, as they did not want to let the momentum follow in the hands of Godlike, and it should be Jonathan for the MVP. 7 finishes, 70% finish contribution, 10 finishes for Godlike. After a long time, we've finally seen this team pop off again.
And Godlike, it's something that they desperately needed too. This performance, if it wouldn't have been there, then Godlike, you can't say maybe today the glimmers or the hopes would have been closed out, but at least in the second game they pulled something off. Let's move on to the match rankings. This is the most important stat of the day, and we've got only 21 points in total. CG, no, they did not claim the bounty. This is exactly what I was mentioning too, Scared Yet, because the players of Global Esports, they were hurt in the previous fight. A few players were knocked out, and CG, they just came in and delivered the finishing blow. They did not go for the players who were knocked out.
That's a big problem. I really thought that maybe they got that bounty, but it seems...
Yeah, it hurts. It stings. I mean, they have so many finish points. They deserve at least more than 30 points. But unfortunately, CG, they lost out on the chicken dinner. They lost out on the bounty, and that's why they've only got 21 points, which is not bad at all, because this is a big leap for CG.
Yes, normally we would see them on a very back end, but that was a pretty big lead. But again, another big vehicle is the TVS Raider, and that to the Iron Man edition. You talk about wicked things, this bike comes with so many amazing features that you can't really miss on them as well.
I mean, a Smart Connect version with 99 connected features, and not just that, you've also got a 5-inch TFT screen, and that's super wicked in my opinion. But moving on forward with the conversation, as I mentioned, today's day was supposed to be the main breaching point for the teams on the latter half of the board. And now from tomorrow, it's just going to take nuclear performances after nuclear performances, and looking at the stats, I don't think so that's possible.
It's going to be super difficult, as you mentioned. Pulling it off consistently is the most important part, as we see Team Z perform in one, but in the next one they stumbled, and guess what, against Reckoning themselves. So you already know that there are other teams who would be looking to take in the fight, as they already have that cushioning, they already have that, you know, big leap that they needed to take back during the Impact Player Week. So now the only thing that I feel will potentially change the top 4 or maybe even the top 10 would be the Impact Player Weekend.
Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm really concerned for Wasista Esports, man. This team was there in the top 4 for such a long time. In the Survival Week, Wasista Esports was dominating. They were at the top. And to dethrone Wasista Esports, it was almost getting next to impossible. But now look at Wasista Esports when it matters the most. They've lost that top 4. They're not even close to that top 4. Something needs to be done. Shadow OG, once again, he's starting to choke in these type of pressurous moments. And this is not just being the case for this tournament. This has been pretty much the case for the previous tournaments too. This man does tend to choke when it matters the most. But as we do have the overall rankings on the screen, the top 4 is pretty much clear. Moving down, Team OG, they have stepped up big on the 5th spot, so close to breaching into the top 4. Raven Esports, Carpadium, and Revenant, you guys have a big competition now.
Absolutely. Revenant on 156, and then we see Vasista down on that 9th spot, 155 points. Up to this part is where I feel still one big bounty game of a 30 point can get you in the top 4. But after that, you really need a lot of consistency. A decent leap for Carnival Gaming is what I'll say. 142 points, not that bad, but you still need at least 2 or 3 more games just like that to try and reach into that top 4.
I mean, for Godlike, they need a banger performance to be back in the race. The same thing can be said for Aiku Soul too. Aiku Soul is also experimenting quite a lot of stuff in their lineup. We're seeing Samai playing in the playing 4. So for Aiku Soul as well, if they do stop experimenting and if they do try to get their proper game face on, just like our Garnier Meds face wash, then maybe something can be done. It's time to be strategic. It's time to be a proper on point.
Yes, you just have to basically let loose of the firing house that you actually have got, right? You can try and utilize that. We know how Aikuso likes to perform in few of the previous tournaments as well. I remember this team plays out of its mind, but AKOP
Back on top.
finally back on top after so many days.
38 finish points, and then you've got Hunters right there with 37 finishes, Maxi with 36, you've got Aim God with 35, Ninja Boy with 33. Ninja Boy 2 is slowly and steadily making his way, but look at Max Payne all the way on the 7th spot. I mean, Max Payne was there on the first half, but now Max is over here. One man that I'm definitely missing on this board is going to be Jonathan, because even he has been pulling off some nice numbers.
Yes, if I remember correctly, 9 finishes, 8 finishes on one day, 7 in one game today itself. Maybe he had 8 or 9. But if you combine all of that, it should be somewhere around 24, 25 at least at the bare minimum.
Yeah, but I guess the only reason why he's not there is because he's not getting those finishes consistently, right, in every single game. And Jonathan is also going to be the standout player of the day. Soon enough, we're also going to toss in towards the interview with Jonathan, which will be super interesting. But before we move on to the interview, we also need to speak about some of the possibilities that might just occur tomorrow. Now the back's against the wall. For all the teams on the latter half of the board, they need nuclear performance in every single game, and if that does not happen, well then good luck in the playoffs. But for now, let's move on to the interview with the standout player.
Okay, so I've made a habit of this, right? हम जब भी यहाँ पे स्टैंड आउट प्लेयर का इंटरव्यू करने के लिए आते हैं, as you see it, Godlike की साइड से सिर्फ एक ही बंदा आता है, and that's Jonathan. This is probably the second time. So Johnny, let me just ask you a very simple question. ये जो इंटरव्यू मैं करने वाला हूँ, should I keep it easy or should I make this hard?
Obviously यार hard ही रखना है यार, easy थोड़ी चाहिए हमें.
Your choice, man. Your choice. All right. So Godlike से it's only been you. पिछली बार भी तुम आए थे, इस बार भी 7 finishes तुम्हारे हैं, which is why you're the standout player. But why is it that you perform, but overall team की performance जो है बहुत underwhelming है?
यार ये ऑर्केस्ट्रा में बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं, but like you know म्यूजिक बनाने के लिए एक साथ आके बजाना होता है, so यही है.
Okay. So your IGL Punk, right? As a player, bro, he's performing. कोई doubt नहीं है. But as an IGL, as the guy who's supposed to lead Godlike, वो performance जो है, उस पे काफी सवालिया निशान है.
Like हम like you know उसमें डाउट तो बिल्कुल नहीं कर रहे. He's doing really amazing. अभी तो कैसे like you know सब ऐसा फाइट वगैरह, आपको मेन फाइनल्स में पता चल जाएगा वो कौन है और कौन नहीं.
Okay, एक ऑडियंस क्वेश्चन भी आ रहा है, so I'm just waiting for that. लेकिन एक सवाल और है that 4 टीमें हैं अब इस फ्रेम में, जो 20 टीमें हैं जिन्होंने अभी तक चिकन डिनर नहीं निकाला है. आज ग्लोबल ने भी निकाल लिया. So you got 8-bit, you got X-Pac, and you got One Blade, and you got you. आज की शुरुआत के पहले you guys were 11th. For a team like Godlike, immense popularity, a guy like you, chicken dinner अब तक, I mean, have you guys gone vegetarian?
Guys, हम ना आगे के लिए बचा के रख रहे हैं, तो चिल करो, आएगा चिकन डिनर, चिल करो.
आपके जैसा मोमेंट जिगल कैसे करें ब्रो? ये ऑडियंस क्वेश्चन है.
यार हम तो नूब यार, हमसे कहाँ सीखोगे यार आप? ये सब मेरे से मत सीखो, बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स हैं, हम तो नूब है.
Do you feel the pressure? Because you know even हमारे जो दोस्त हैं, the casters, right? Every single time तुम्हारी conversation आती है, everybody wants Godlike to win. मैं तुम्हारे फैंस के सारे जो मैसेजेस हैं सोशल पे वो भी चेक करता हूँ, एंड बिकॉज यू ऑलवेज गॉट दिस प्रेशर राइडिंग ऑन यू, ऐसा लगता है कि यू गाइस मैच में उतरते हो विद एक्सेस बैगेज व्हिच इज मोर देन 15 kg, सो यू हैव टू पे अ प्राइस फॉर दैट.
लाइक प्रेशर तो लाइक यू नो ऐसे तो नहीं है. लाइक अगर प्रेशर होता आज मैं यहाँ पे नहीं होता, अगर लाइक यू नो प्रेशर लेता मैं, सो मैं ज़्यादा चीज़ सोचता नहीं हूँ. लाइक यू नो आई जस्ट गो विद द फ्लो, जो है गेम में फोकस करता हूँ एंड जो दिखता है उसको उड़ा देता हूँ. सो दैट्स इट.
क्या है वो ऑर्केस्ट्रा वाली लाइन फिर से बोलना?
लाइक बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं वो, बट म्यूजिक बनाने के लिए एक साथ आके बजाना होता है म्यूजिक. सो या
back to the boys who are going to now have a longer conversation on this.
One way to put it, I guess. I mean, Jonathan, he's been the standout player not just once, twice at this point. And yeah, it was quite a valid question too, right? He's the only player who's been able to put up so many numbers on the board. Usually it's supposed to be Admino, right? Because he's been the consistent fragger in the past. But this time it's Jonathan in this tournament, and we're loving to see that. Of course, the fans as well will be having quite a great time. But we've got a bit of an announcement to make. Due to technical issues in the match One Blade got 8 points, and Godlike and CG, they got some compensation points for themselves.
I mean, it's absolutely fine, right? Carnival Gaming were already having a very good day, and so were Godlike. Did amazing. I really hope they can carry this performance.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to tomorrow. We do not know what the future holds, and tomorrow's day is definitely going to be another banger of a day. With that being said, today's day comes to an end. That's going to be it from me and Shai Shinu. We'll see you guys tomorrow.